Deeper into darkness we go. Chapter
But it's
3.
surprisingly well lit.
It's surprising. Chapter
I mean,
3 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. This is our in-depth review, analysis, fun foreshadowing and Easter eggs and all that other stuff. We're also going to rank it because this is reviewed and ranked. And we're going to kick it right off with our ranking. Where does Chapter 3 rank among chapters 1, 2, and 3? Let's go ahead and go over to the rankings now. Again, this is a surprise to the panelists as they've all sent me their rankings individually, and they don't know what the official ranking is until we see it. So here we go. There it is. So, number 1, A New Journey Begins. That's chapter 2. Number 2, A Fall of a Hero. That's chapter 1. And Deeper into Darkness is your number 3 spot, chapter 3. So let's see how we got there. That's it. What we do is we're going to tally up the points because each person's ranking gives the chapter a certain amount of points, and that adds into the total. So let's see where we go with the Dragoon King, who ranked it at number 3. Dragoon King, can you give me your surface level review, and then we will go subterranean with our analysis.
Thanks for stealing my joke. When we had an audience. But all right, so let's watch. Damn near knocked him out his seat.
Jealous of you.
It was
You
too
serve the
good.
king and take over.
It was too good.
I'm sorry. All right. So anyway, yeah. So I put it third. Listen, it's got its moments. It's good. It took the linearity, I feel like, of chapter 1, but didn't have enough substance to compare. And that's pretty much why I think I put it below. It's like we go into linear start, open world. Hey, here, check out all this cool stuff. And we're going to throw you right back into a linear section. And, I mean, it's not a bad spot. It's just, something had to be bronze. And here we are.
And here we are.
True that.
All right, so that didn't work for you, but we're going to go over to Dr. Lockhart. Dr. Locke, Doc Locke, you put it in at number 3. Can you explain why?
In short, it doesn't serve to advance the characters or their relationships. There's not a lot of dialogue to get to know them better. I would say the highlight for me comes right at the beginning as you enter the cave in terms of some of the conversations they've got. In terms of the story, it's just a place through which we had to go. I don't feel like the story evolved terribly here. Don't get me wrong, it's an improvement over the original, that there's more depth, there's more beauty, but I think it's lacking in some of the ways that I think that Remake and Rebirth have excelled at taking some of the quiet places that were just a screen or two, like the train graveyard, and then they were like, oh, we're going ham on this, and we're going to add so much more. You need to know the characters better. They're going to have new relationships, and there's going to be whole new subplots. Here, they just let it speak for itself. There is an artistic merit to be said for that, for just letting it breathe quietly. But it's to me going to pale in comparison to the beauty of the open world and all that there is to experience, and the characters and the world building of chapter 2, or obviously the pivotal scene that is chapter 1.
Very well said. I'm surprised that you didn't get too much of the character development out of this one, but that's what this conversation is going to be for. I'm excited to hear your thoughts more on that one. We're going to go over to Excalibro. You also put it at number 3.
Yeah, I'm not setting any trends here. So my official deep dive on this one is that, it takes the original, which was just a handful of screens, and fleshes it out to something that's beautiful. Why is it number 3? Because it doesn't deserve to be 1 or 2. I like this chapter. I think it's good. The music is really good. It's really pretty. The lighting, the colors. There's a few character moments. But the reality is there's just not as much meat on the bone as the other 2 chapters. And if you're a Final Fantasy fan, you're probably here for the story. And so I want more of that. I'm ready for more of that. So this was just a get from point A to point B because I need to know what's going to happen next. So
I love that, man. So for me, it's also at number 3. So just echoing what the guy said here, although I would say that upon this deeper analysis that I on the second playthrough here, where yes, I was indeed searching for something. I was like, I'm gonna bring something to the table when we have this freaking conversation, man. So I kind of I was kind of picking up some messages that maybe the developers were trying to send us through the storytelling, through character interactions. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I had a much, the puns are real, a much deeper appreciation for this chapter on the second playthrough, because the first playthrough I was very much like you guys, thinking like, oh man, this is filler. Like this is, why is this whole second act of this right out, like why is there another segment of this? I thought we were about to get out, and then like it just felt like it was going on, and we're gonna get into that, the mine cart. It wouldn't be a freaking mine dungeon in a video game without pulling carts in a puzzle, or pushing and pulling carts, but I feel like there's a little bit more to appreciate, and we're gonna dive into that. So let's kick it off with our chapter recap here. So I'm gonna bring that on up, and we're gonna get into this one. This is the least amount of notes I've taken thus far, so in theory this should not be a 5-hour podcast. So
maybe 4.5.
Why did you curse us? Why did you curse us?
Yeah, really, this
we're off to a rocky start.
So
that's how we're gonna get through this, is by making these terrible puns, and that's how we're gonna get through this, gents. All right.
So, just a heads up to anybody who might have noticed. I don't know. Maybe I sound all right. I've got like a little bit of maybe a cold or whatever this is. But it's starting to lose my voice a little bit here. But it should be good and should still be able to bring the hype. So thank you everybody who is tuning in right now in the chat. Thank you so much for that as well. You guys have filled out the survey, and I will be bringing in your questions as we go. I also want to shout out to those who left feedback on how to improve the show. Centurion, shout out. Thank you for leaving your message. I actually kind of laughed a little bit because after the podcast was over, we spent an extra 2 hours talking shop on how to improve the show, and you basically echoed one of the main things. So it was about like future spoilers, right? So anything that happened, that was me taking a quote from Kinda Funny, my favorite podcast out there. This is heavily inspired by their in review series, and they call them future spoilers. So they can't talk about anything that happens after what they're talking about in the current podcast. We are going to call that future memories. So we can't recall future memories. The whispers have taken those away from us, and we must analyze as best we can without going, unless if it's context that really supports.
Yeah. If I could chime in for a sec, I just wanted to say, like, if it's one thing, because we discussed this in our post podcast shop talk, there are some things where bringing up the context of a later chapter might actually benefit the conversation, but that doesn't mean let's pivot the conversation to a whole-on discussion about, like, oh yeah, chapter 3 brings up Elena. Let's talk about the Turk fight with, Song and Elena in chapter 13. Yeah, let's not go there. Exactly. Like, we don't need. I feel like that's sort of, how I was processing it. So I wanted to kind of pitch that out there so the audience could take it.
Perfect. Yep. As long as it supports the context you're trying, or the point you're trying to make about this chapter in here. So, here we go. Let me start back at the very beginning of this. Once again, gameplay is coming from Gamers Pray over on YouTube. So thank you for doing these walkthroughs with no commentary. It's awesome. I love that people do that. So Gamers Pray, please go subscribe to Gamers Pray and say like, hey man, really enjoyed watching your footage on Final Fan TV. Leave them a comment. Drop Final Fan TV's name It helps them with the algorithm, helps me. All right, here we go. All right. We don't need the sound for this one, but we're entering the Mythril Mines. The party enters the Mythril Mines. Now we have Tifa saying, oh, no, I think it was Aerith. Aerith says that you fought the worst for a living, right? And Barrett refers to Cloud as a merc. I thought this was kind of cool because it's the first time that Barrett kind of refers to Cloud as a merc in a long time. Right, because I feel like they've kind of gotten this friendship here. So when he says, when he's like, "Hey, you mind taking the lead, Merc?" It's almost in jest. It's in a good spirits here, and I think that's cool to show how far this relationship has grown between Cloud and Barrett since they first met at the beginning of Remake. When his first words he says is, "Get down here, Merc." Oh man, that is bad with the get down here, Mert. Oh,
Hey.
I love the dialogue that has already elapsed in terms of the whole. Enough for her standard course twice.
Yes,
Right.
Yes.
First off, it plays well to who Aerith is. That Aerith is, she is more flirty. She is more cutesy, and she's going to take, the massage in good spirits and fun, and she's going to enjoy this. And the greatest comedy she can induce is to torture Cloud, who doesn't quite know exactly how to handle this, with innocent, sweet Tifa. Just great choice with Tifa's dialect being her what now?
Cloud? What?
And right. And I think that honestly, it would have been great if they kind of pseudo broke the fourth wall and Cloud said, "I don't remember. The whispers must have taken it from me," or something like that. To even further just be like, "No,
must have been the whispers.
There's nothing to be said. I don't know what Eris is talking about. Let's move on."
Yo, I would have laughed so hard if that's what it would happen.
Yeah,
and if he
it would
looked
be
right
so
at the
great.
camera when he said it, I would have laughed so hard. That would have been it.
Yes, I would love it if they, Cloud starts using the whispers.
A little
as
wink to the
joke to get
camera.
around his
Yeah,
awkwardness, kind of a thing. Or like if there's another thing about dancing or something in the Honeybee Inn or something, and maybe we could part 3, given that we won't have Eris at all in the party, and that there's some sort of invocation of Andrea being like, "Are you ready to do another dance performance with me, Cloud?" Whisper, sorry, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Get out.
Who the hell are you?
Like, he really seems to know you, Cloud. Like, he's just mentally.
I have no
ill.
idea
Just
what you're
ignore
talking about. Nope.
I'm the sane one. I am very completely all here. That guy's crazy.
I wrote that in
composed.
in the previous chapter when I was like, they like to kind of make Cloud a little uncomfortable. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
They
The
love
Midgard's-
doing that to my boy.
Yeah, with the Midgard Swarmer, can we rent one? And getting all of it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's good. It's so much fun. The party interaction is the highlight of this chapter, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. Well, besides Elena and Rude, but we'll get there later. But I did pop off for that. But again, future memories, is it? Not within the same chapter.
The same chapter. It's fine.
I know. Yeah, it's just later. It's later. No, but I wanted to throw something in there. Yeah, I love the playful banter at the start. It kind of sets the tone for a lot of the jabbing that's gonna go on with this chapter. The 2 grand joke that's keeps recurring and whatnot. It's a very fun start, and it is a fun chapter. It's not, look, if you came to this chapter and expected deep character analysis and a deep dive into character, this isn't the chapter. But what you are going to get is a lot of playful interactions, and you're going to get a lot of inside jokes and just cool little nods to the past. I did want to point out something though. This is the first time, because I believe I mentioned this in the episode 2, I guess the last episode, how Barrett, despite the fact that, the girls at least sort of look to Cloud as a leader, Barrett still tries to hold that position. This is the first time, and you're right, Dan, I think it's more of a playful thing, but he's just like, "Oh, yeah, you deal with this.
Yeah.
You want to take the lead on this one?
Yeah, take it off my hands.
My hand.
Yeah.
Oh
no! Oh no!
I'm glad you went there. I endorse that.
Man, yep. Gotta hand it to you for that one.
Oh, stop
Thank
it!
you. Man, how long have you been a fan now? You did. But what is it? No, I just thought it was funny.
I think you're legit right that, I mean, to me, this kind of relates to something from chapter 2. That this is a very subjective opinion, but I feel like Barrett is far more the leader than an OG, right? Like in OG, we have that little scene in Midgard where it's like, no one could be the leader but me, and then Eris, says has to be Cloud or something like that. I don't remember the exact.
Midgard.
And here, I mean, I actually don't. I feel like in this game in general, because Cloud is especially in later chapters,
Huku
very explicitly not able to function as the leader for certain reasons. But I mean, I think even right out the gate, I mean, just the little dialogue in chapter 2 of Barrett saying, we had enough problems as it is, and it felt, very fatherly of like, it feels like when your superior officer is telling you, I don't care how much you hate the bastard, you're going to get along because that's what the platoon needs. And it felt that sort of leadership quality sort of a thing.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, even here, like, you may be saying something like, all right, well, you're good at swinging your sword, so take point on that one.
It's funny because...
But to me, I still feel like he is more the leader this time, which I like, personally.
Yeah. I do too.
I mean, it's kind of funny because he says that, take point on this one, Cloud, but then he follows up and really hits us with some lore and like basically taking the lead. He's like, yo, I've done this stuff before, but I mean, I guess Cloud should take the lead.
Which is why I said, I agree with you in that. I think it's just sort of a funny quip from him because he almost immediately undoes it with his own actions. It's like, oh yeah, this is the mine and this is that, and by the way, the guy who falls down the hole, none of you go because
I'm really experienced.
I'm the one who knows
what I'm doing. But anyway, good job, Cloud. You've done a good job so far. You've lost one rogue man, and you just. You're
actually, that's why he took it over again. He was like, he took it over again. He saw how it went to shit immediately. Yeah. He's like, oh, this guy lost 2 rogues already. Oh, jeez. All right.
So I hope get there real quick. Oh, what's up? Go ahead.
Oh, so I hope you'll pardon me if this is I don't think this is a future spoiler, as much as I would want to say, like, this is the beginning of a trend that I really like the fact that Rebirth tries to make the black-robed men real characters.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah. I beg pardon if if I don't remember if we talked about this in chapter 2. I think one of the best things to me in chapter 2 was the degree to which Broden was meant to be like, we're actually seeing him before his fall. But the reason I bring this up is that you just mentioned how Barrett goes down to assist the black-robed figure that fell. This is the first time that Barrett does this, and it's a real running theme, I feel like, that the most empathetic person to the black-robed people in the party is always Barrett.
Yep.
Not Cloud, not Tifa or Aerith, which, I mean, going into this game, I might have guessed that the most empathetic person might have been one of the ladies. You could have gotten me to believe. Or
I just want to say real quick, Tifa's very compassionate to them, but it's Barrett, totally.
Yeah. I have a lot to say on Tifa. Once we get to that part, I got a lot to say, but I do want to throw it over to Excalibur because I have a good feeling. Go ahead, man. What's up?
Oh, well, before we get to that, so I want to back up all the way to the very first line of the chapter.
Yeah, let's back it up, man.
So when they walk into the mine, I don't remember Cloud's exact dialogue, but he said he implies that he believes Sephiroth went through here. And what's interesting is nobody else saw Sephiroth, right? At the end of chapter 2, we talked about the Midgard Zormer ended up on the tree. Nobody saw Sephiroth, so it's really interesting that nobody comments on this. They're just kind of trusting his intuition on this, Like Aerith is like, there's definitely monsters in here. But Cloud is pretty sure that Sephiroth went through and what's interesting is that nobody else says anything.
Yo,
Right.
to go on
mean-
to that point, and like this is a little bit later on, and I'm just gonna say it.
I know where you're going. Say it. Say
Yeah,
it, bro.
Like when
Yeah, I think I do.
when
I think I
Barrett-
know what you're gonna say.
when Barrett and Red fall into the water.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
they fall into the hole and what Red says, or
Red
well, they both.
says-
I took a note. I don't remember exactly offhand what he says,
Well,
but he
Red-
more or less. Go. No. It was your point. I don't want to steal your thunder. You got this, bro.
You played him. You voice acted Red 13. In the
No, yeah. But I'm not in tune with him like that.
Okay.
No, I don't want to steal your thunder.
No,
I think,
it's all good. So basically, Red mentions that the robed men, and then it's something along the lines of Cloud thinks that they're following Sephiroth, or like, and then Barrett questions that in a way, which I thought was very. We're gonna get to that point, but Barrett's, and that goes off of what you're saying.
I have his
Excalibur.
exact quote. I have Barrett's exact quote written down.
So he says, right?
Well, yeah. So I didn't write what Red says, but yeah, Red mentions because they see the dead robe on the ground, and they're talking to each other, and Red says, Cloud believes that they're drawn to Sephiroth.
Yeah.
And that's when Barrett's like, so he says, or whatever, and then they continue their conversation. But the last piece of dialogue in that exchange I wrote, Barrett states, let's hope the boy can keep it together.
Keep it together. Yep.
And I thought that was really fast. I'm just going to say it real quick before I forget. I just thought that was really fascinating because going from the start of this chapter to that point, this is pretty early in the game. And we already see that at least from, Chapter 2, we just got off of an argument between Tifa and Cloud. Everybody's starting to already get this weird perception on Cloud. Like, they're starting to already think he's not lining up. He's not everybody's sort of got a weird perception on him by this point. Whether it's, Red suspecting why Cloud is drawn to them, Barrett just, I even wrote in my notes, he's already questioning his psyche.
Yeah.
And then, Tifa, obviously we all know with the flashback, the story doesn't line up at all to her. Aerith, I don't really have much of a point on, but, she's a whole other story in this game because we don't even know how much she actually knows. But I just thought it was interesting that throughout this chapter, it's already doing a great job at reinforcing what Chapter 2 established, but now we're seeing it from other characters' perspectives. And this is the first time, I think, well, unless you want to count the Zack stuff and the brief time we play as Sephiroth, this is the first time in any, chapter in this game where we take on a more fleshed out role with a different party member by playing, Barrett. So, anyway, we'll jump to that later, but you brought it up. You brought it up, so I had to get the quote out.
And that kind of goes along with, and we'll get there when we get there, but Jay Slim, I'm going to go ahead because this was a question from the survey. But we basically answered it where Jay Slim said, do you believe when Barrett says, hope the boy can hold it together? It's the first early sign of Barrett having distrust of Cloud during the pursuit of Sephiroth. Yep. So awesome. I'm glad we answered that question just naturally.
Yeah. So, I didn't even see the comments, so there you go, bro.
Excalibur, but I actually pointed at you because I thought you were going to shout out your first award.
Oh.
Because Doc Locke brought up the... He brought up the compassion for the robed men.
Yeah, okay. So that is my best birth, best new moment, I love this idea that they don't want to leave the robed men behind, not because they're following them to find Sephiroth, but because these are people that Shinra harmed. And everyone in the party has been deeply injured by Shinra. So it's just cool to see we've already said this, but that level of compassion, especially from Barrett, who you don't really expect it from. But, I mean, what's interesting, there's a lot of foreshadowing here. There's a little bit of deeper, I would say, subtext going on because you're literally in a mine. And this is the most powerful place you could put Barrett to just saturate him with thoughts of Shinra, of his past. And so when he sees those robed figures, he probably sees a lot more than just another victim. He sees himself, he sees choices, he sees people that he loved that were hurt. And he's looking at it like, this is an opportunity for me to do something. I can go down and check on this guy, and I loved it, man. This is probably my favorite moment in the chapter. We'll talk about the other moment that's in contention for my best, but this is my favorite new moment for sure, like hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that there's a bigger artistic point that's worthy of mention here, which is that this is kind of the beginning, I would say, of we are following the robes. As opposed to everything in OG was we're following the man in a black robe. And I mean, this is a big artistic direction change, right? That everything in the original was we're chasing after Sephiroth. Sephiroth's wearing a black robe. We didn't really see the black-robed men until we got all the way to Nibelheim in the original. And so it's a real change in the storytelling to emphasize the idea that our explicit objective is chasing these guys, and we are assuming that there is a one-to-one relationship between black-robed guys and the black-robed guy. And it to me kind of relates to the bigger issue that there are a lot of things that OG did that they chose not to be too super explicit about, and we put the pieces together. That then after you play OG once, you might be like, so who was I chasing? Right? Like it's a hard thing that people get tripped over. Like, who was I actually following? In OG, if the real Sephiroth was in the Northern Crater, etc., etc., and like it does take replays to really appreciate who was I chasing, what did he look like, etc. And they've gone a very different direction here. But they kind of circumvent that harder lore question that takes replays to understand truthfully, and be like, you're following the guys with the black robes because you're assuming the black robes tend to that. That's a big change, and to me, it's really consistent with a lot of the other changes they make in Rebirth and in the future, that they're choosing a much more explicit storytelling as opposed to mystery storytelling, which could leave a person more confused about what is the truth, because OG is arguably confusing.
I wouldn't say arguably. Like, I mean, I'll say this just real quick. I played it 3 years ago for the first time. I've said this before on the channel. I'm the newest Final fan, so to speak. I'm not going to sit here and say that I couldn't piece it together. I don't think if that was the case, I'd be on this panel right now. No, like I will say though, it is putting aside the. Unlike, say, you guys who played the game multiple times throughout your life and were on forums, and I imagine, I don't know what you guys were doing, but I imagine you guys were probably on losers.
Go ahead, rub it in.
I think when you put aside the rose-tinted glasses and the nostalgia and all that stuff, the initial playthrough is actually pretty confusing, I think, from the adult lens. And it was a good confusing because it's not the type of confusing where by the end I was totally lost. I did have questions and I needed to think hard about it to really piece together everything, sure, but it was established in a way where there was intrigue and it led a lot, or it presented itself in a way where it gave me enough to work with where I could come to a conclusion and then compare that to other people's conclusions, because some people have different interpretations of this, and of course then you have the actual answers provided by, Ultimanias and all that stuff. But the point is that I think that this was a good change in a lot of ways. I think both have their merits, but this, I think it served a lot for character development. I think it served a lot in a way that we're seeing the effects of things like Shinra. We're seeing the effects of things like Genova. We're the whole degradation of Cloud plot that we're really seeing unfold in this game is great, comparing that with the robed men and whatnot. So I do think that it was a good change overall.
I mean, like,
and even wanted to say something.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just gonna get back to the to the plot and everything, but basically that is a good observation of where we are following something that's actually visible this time around. Like I think that's kind of cool. A little bit of like chasing the white rabbit, Alice. Like you're following something, and I think it's a good plot device. So we're gonna get back into this part here as Barrett hits us with a bunch of lore right off the bat. We get to find out what Mythril, a little bit more about Mythril. We get a little bit of Barrett's backstories. I did work of mine, so a little bit of foreshadowing to set him up for when we get to Corel later, and all this other stuff. So I think this is really cool that we're getting a more fleshed out Mythril minds. I do wish that we were able to actually read like the texture quality.
Me too.
It was cool. Like it's a museum basically. You can tell that this was at once a tourist attraction. People would come in and take a look at this. Like, hey, look at this cool display here. Excuse me.
And you know whose fault that is?
Shinra.
No,
it's
Chadley's fault, because Chadley is in charge of every bit of random lore, and he missed this. And don't tell me Chadley couldn't have found a way in here.
Yeah.
Chadley stalks us.
How come Chadley didn't want world intel on this Mythril mine? That is a great question. There's no world intel to gather here. But as you can
stalk
see,
us anywhere.
He never popped up. What is that? What's he got against?
Yeah,
this
where is my
Mythril?
boy?
Yeah. So you have the signs with the history of the Mythril mines, which I wish I could. I sat there and I wanted to read it, couldn't do it.
Me too.
And I think the text is actually on purpose, not real words. I don't know, but and then there is an interesting image that I spotted where it was how it's formed, and let me tell you what, I got a little bit the geek within, because when I made the Mythril Mines video, I talked about like how Mythril could be formed with how the life stream could be warm or hot like this is how ore is created and all that other stuff, right? And like there's a literal picture on the wall of like, hey, here's like the geological graph and all this other stuff, and like how the Mythril might like be made and stuff. So anyways, in that video I made, I did kind of have a very similar diagram. Let's see if I can get up to it. It's right up here. There we go. It's this one here. Just to kind of show it off real quick. Get closer. There it is right there. And you can kind of see it. It's like, yo, here's this stuff. Maybe the live stream's running underneath of it. Whatever. Just wanted to shout that out. Thought that was fun. Nice. So, Josh Z writing in. Thank you so much for that super chat. All your support lately has been awesome. Thank you for being a Patreon supporter now. So a newest party member, Josh Z here, writes in, it took me 3 times as an adult to understand this aspect of the story. Rebirth is way better because I can connect to it emotionally. The strength of Remake is in the connective tissue of the plot. I like that, Josh Z. Thanks so much for writing in. Whereas I think Rebirth or the FF7 R trilogy in general assumes you already know, right? It's in my opinion. You already know these mysteries and you already know Sephiroth very well. So to keep him from us, I imagine, wouldn't be the same effect, is what the developers thought. So that, like, I understand their intent. So thanks so much for
In fact, they don't mind showing him off more.
Yeah, they're definitely, they're like, all right, we're gonna use them and we'll hook you with a different mystery that future memories can't recall right now, because
this is cool because it's fleshing out something that we didn't get as much, I felt like, fleshed out before. So I agree with the comment here. Like, it's cool to see, that's a good way of putting it. The strength of Remake is in the connective tissue of the plot. I agree with that sentiment.
And Excalibur, with his best birth, the best new thing that was introduced, being the compassion for the robed men. Very cool, because we're about to run into some robed individuals, and I think I might have to fast forward a little bit. Let's get to about right here. There it goes. They call it up.
Bye.
The ground gives away. And then he just goes ahead and falls down. Now here's an interesting thing. there's a couple dialogue pieces that happen here, and I'm just gonna let it play while I go to my notes. So the party catches up with the roadmen. The ground gives way as the roadman falls into the depths of the mind. Tifa is very concerned, right? We get a small glimpse of Cloud's growing obsession to follow these roadmen here, as he just kind of goes, yeah, but there's nothing we can do about it. Okay, so he's already feeling that pull towards the reunion, and it's very subtle in this moment. But he doesn't really show much of, like, compassion. Barrett, on the other hand, is way more conscientious of Tifa's feelings in this moment here, because he can see that this is bothering her. And after analyzing her face for a little bit, he goes, well, you know, I'll go down there and check it out. You know, I'm going to go down and check it out. I know this kind of stuff. And he's just pulling this one, like, it wasn't his idea. He looked at Tifa, saw that she had a strong concern about this, and wanted to ease her worry or her mind here. Red even offers to go with him, which is great because we definitely need more of that Barrett and Red brotherhood connection, because we got a little bit of it in Remake, and it's so great when we get these two together. The chemistry between John Bentley and Max, it's awesome. And so we do also catch a bit of foreshadowing when Barrett says to Tifa, last thing we need is you to get hurt on us. Ooh, future memories there, though, but a little bit of foreshadowing there. This is coming from Shinra Arc over on Twitter, or X, says, since childhood, Tifa has been sensitive to others' opinions, adjusting her behavior to prevent people from disliking her. This core trait persists today. Though one might compliment her unflagging attentiveness, I can't say the word, to others, Tifa seems to dislike her own personality. Rebirth Ultimania, thank you very much for that, Shinra.
Thank you, Daffy Duck.
Attentiveness. Thank you very much.
Got it in one.
Got it. Yeah, absolutely.
I
got it.
think that's a
I'll edit it out in
overly.
post.
I think that's an overly selectively negative way to look at Tifa's personality. Just in that, however true that might be, in certain cases, I think a really major defining personality trait, especially in evidenced in Remake, is that she will not let Cloud kill Shinra troopers in Sector 7. You know, like she doesn't want anyone to suffer, even people who are explicitly the enemy. So however much it is a fair thing to say of her personality that she's a people pleaser, I think it's also true that she has empathy and like a really big
I don't think that's
difference.
what the quotes say. So I don't think the quote's denying that she has a lot of empathy. So I think Tifa is like the personification of empathy, right? So, and I think what it's trying to say here is that Tifa seems to dislike her own personality sometimes, to where she's always trying to be a people pleaser, to where she wants that connection that Aerith and
She says that.
Huh?
She says that at some point, doesn't she?
I think so. Future memories.
I forget where she
says.
Yeah,
I believe
she does. Okay, thank you.
It's the Wasp quest for Fluffy.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is where, like, okay, I even have it written.
This
here.
is where a future spoiler would probably be somewhat useful.
So where I have it written right here in my notes, I'm gonna just continue reading my notes on this one, because I know at the top of the show we were talking about like this doesn't have much character depth and all that other stuff, but I feel like I pulled a lot from this chapter on this replay, especially paying attention to Tifa. I mean, just because of character though. I mean, just because I was doing a deep analysis. All right, not because I was just paying attention to Tifa the entire time. All right, so Tifa being uncharacteristically pessimistic in this chapter. So at one point, they say the roadmen could be just up ahead, or something like that, and she goes, "Yeah, if any of them's still alive." I was like, "Whoa, that's interesting." So I think we need to take a look at Tifa's development here, right? From the very start of the game, or I guess from the calm in, she's been through a lot, right? It wasn't just the other day a city fell on her home. There's a lot going on here. So I love that the writers are keeping this in mind and like really getting into the mind of Tifa for this, right? We're getting in the mind of Tifa as we are showing a side of her that is not so like optimistic here. And then she's off. She's not herself. So not to get ahead of ourselves, because in this episode, because we got to keep it no future memories. I feel like we're gonna have to keep this in mind as we go on, right? Because as I say right here in my chapter notes, no future memories. But I feel like her character is going to develop further as the chapters go on, and she's going to regain that confidence and things like that. But I just thought it was cool to note for this chapter in particular, Tifa showing a little more of a, I don't know, mental weakness here. Pessimism, yeah. So
she's at a low point, and it's very,
at a very low point.
Very, very evident. And I think in one of my notes, I just pointed out that I believe that scene with the robe falling and the conversation with Barrett and Tifa, it shows that, in my opinion at least, those two are some of the most compassionate characters in the party. Not that the others lack it in any extent, but those two definitely almost wear their heart on their
strong survive. Sorry.
Exactly. But
I do think we can put Nanaki at the bottom of the list on this aspect.
Yeah, but we'll get on to him later. The point is with Barrett and Tifa, I think somebody in the comment, I can't say who it was that said it, but Tifa's frustrated by her own inaction. I think that's sort of a cool parallel between the two of them in that conversation. Is Tifa isn't always concrete in what she wants to do. She's more passive at times. Barrett's very take charge. A robe fell. Instead of, she's thinking about it. She's like, oh, should I do Barrett? All right, I got it.
mean, how's your day going?
But I think a key thing is that it relates to.
Oh,
my phone just broke. That's great.
I'm sorry.
Cadley strikes again, bro.
Freaking the whisper. Look at this stuff is wigging out right now.
I mean, I think that part of you were describing that Barrett is quicker to action than Tifa. I mean, to me, that relates to a beautifully developed point in Remake of just the issue of Barrett has great moral simplicity, and they go into great length in certain chapters to point out that how you got space in that black and white world for one more, etc. Tifa fundamentally is more morally conflicted, right? Barrett is willing to do anything to destroy Shinra, and you know what? Civilian casualties are fine, and I don't care if they're just workers at the Shinra Corporation. Tifa is conflicted about these things. Implicit within having moral grayness is going to be some degree of paralysis about what is the right way to help people. So Barrett's decisiveness is helped by his more simplistic moral picture of, look, if you want to take decisive action, you are going to need simpler morals. And that's not meant in a negative way in any sense, as much as each of them have a pro and con to them. Barrett will get more done because of his simplicity, but moral simplicity is obviously dangerous in its own ways.
So, good stuff. We're going to keep on going along here. So we're going to get back into, we journey into the mines, a little deeper into darkness we go. And we're going to come across, because, we got the minecart pushing and pulling and all that other stuff. There's not really much to discuss in between here and when we meet the Turks. So let's go ahead and get to that point. Now,
may I ask one pre-Turk question?
Absolutely, you can.
So, I don't think there's an answer to it, but I think the question is worth asking and thinking about, which is, given what we saw at the end of Remake, when we say the black-robed men are following Sephiroth, which version of Sephiroth do we think post-Remake, as well as what does the party think? Now, I don't think we can answer that, and I don't want to get us down a sidetrack. But I think the question is fun to at least think about, at least maybe for viewers to contemplate for themselves, if nothing else, even if we're not going to go into it, about which Sephiroth is it that they're which one is commanding them? Because I think post remake, either answer is acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly on that one, I think it's just the Sephiroth from like the live stream, like, or even
Northern Crater.
Northern Crater, or not even that, but like Sephiroth that is literally just everywhere, every world. We no future memories, but we actually see him at the end of the game, right? So the Sephiroth, I think it's a hive mind almost, where he is in control of everything. Yeah, I think he's in control of everything. The robe figures, everything. This time around, where I feel like he's using Genova's power. That's my opinion. So let's try not to get into that one, because I feel like that is definitely a really like great conversation to have. But like Doc Locke suggested, chat, feel free to take that, eat it, and just savor it, and just regurgitate it back out in the comments.
I was about to say, make sure you bring that comment to the actual
regurgitate into the comments.
Please, yeah, bring it back to post VOD comments when the video drops, because I'm gonna read all of them, and I might start regurgitating back at you.
There you
if
go.
You're into that.
Engage in the comments. Engage. If you're into that,
putting that out as another verb choice. Discuss is also a good verb choice here. Just throwing that out.
If you're into that sort of thing, we can do a little mouth to mouth.
This is what he thinks of the quality of the discourse of the chat. He's saying that what you do is regurgitate.
Oh, God.
All right, guys, let's get off.
Yeah, please move on from regurgitation.
Right. It's my job as host to move on. I gotta move on.
I think we hit the regurgitation quota.
Here we go.
All right.
We're gonna meet Elena for the very first time. So,
hype. I'm sorry, I just have to hype. That was hype. I'm putting you. That was hype. I popped off like crazy my first time. And when I played this chapter again, because I think this is genuinely one of the first times I played this chapter again for this video.
Oh yeah, nobody really goes back to chapter 3.
No, there's not much reason.
In the chapter select. This is a lot of people's best rebirth here, where the Turks interaction or Elena's intro, coming from Excalibro. So Excalibro, take us away on what about Elena's intro is what you wrote specifically for the best rebirth. Everybody else wrote like the Turks interaction, except for Doc Locke, who had a different thing we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was just being laconic. It's this whole thing right here.
Okay.
It's the whole interaction, you know. I like, there's some other things that she says here. I have a couple notes here. Let's see. So first we hear them, we overhear them talking about Reno, and he's basically MIA for most of the game, right? So they're obviously setting him up to show up later, you know, future memories there. But a big thing here is that Elena says that they should put down the robe dude, because that's what Sang would do. That's what Sang would do if he was there, right? And what's the first thing he does when he shows up, right?
Pow. Yeah.
Well, I thought that it was a good scene. This is really, there's only a few candidates really for best rebirth, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dragoon King. This one you had the Turks interaction here, and you said you popped off. Why did you pop off?
Okay. All right. Well, I just want to get this out there. I love Rude. Rude's always been, since the original, I don't know what it is. That guy, he's got my heart, bro. Like, Rude is just dope. So seeing him for the first time in this game, I was like, oh shit, they brought my boy back. Then we get introduced to Elena, of course, who was the only main Turk that we didn't get to see at all previously, of course. So seeing her, hype. Seeing Rude back, hype. We're going to see Sung later. Just everything about their interaction. And, you know, now that we're talking about this so much, I think it's interesting that I feel that Chapter 3 has a lot of callbacks to Remake. I feel like, you know, the reason Reno's out of commission is because of the fight on the pillar. We're talking about just little things like, you know, the hand massage and just the Merc callback. So much of this chapter, now that we're talking about, it's making me realize, oh man, this is just like almost like a love letter to some of the things that we just played through in the last game, and it's cool. They're just throwing all these references out, talking about things. So, for me, just the whole interaction, it's kind of hard to say what about it. Wiley brings up a great point. Elena's spot on analysis of her boss, because the first thing that guy does is come over and pop one.
Yeah,
but
that's cool. That's cool.
But I think that everything that this interaction offers, I don't want to say fan service, but it feels like it's like we know what you love about the Turks. It kind of highlights a lot of the elements that we love about the Turks, and so I just. The whole thing was just hype.
So to throw in not future memories here, because this is OG spoilers in a way. So the later half, or I guess this might even be in the third act a little bit, depending on when you go there. I feel like this is a little bit of fun foreshadowing, and it might even be intentional. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But Elena's talking about how it sounds like he's on an all-expense-paid vacation. This could be a fun nod to when the Turks go on vacation to Wutai. I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I thought that I feel like it's intentional.
That's a good catch.
Fun little nod.
I didn't even think about that.
A lot of talk about vacation and before they get there. So, and then also, man, I laughed out loud. Dude, I laughed real hard when I was playing this. And then when they do their special attack, and Elena goes up and hits Aerith and Tifa and goes, "My name is Elena, bitch." Dude, I laughed so hard. Oh, God. And then if Rude hits Tifa, he'll say, "Wish it didn't have to be this way, but no choice."
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Yep. So that's
cool reference to those who know.
Exactly. And what is that for those who know? Just to throw it out there, just quickly.
Well,
like this is the Doc Lock thing.
This is a Doc Lock thing, yeah. Because I mean, you're the doctor of the
so
Lock.
I feel like you might be the expert on this one.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. I'll pass my spotlight over to you.
On,
I don't know where you are in relevance to me. Are you this way? I'm mirrored.
Depending upon how far back you want to go, in short, Rude has an attraction to Tifa. It is definitely not just an OG thing, because there's that lovely scene in Remake where for absolutely no reason he jerks the helicopter in during the assault on the pillar, and Reno says, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, my hand slipped.
Yeah.
My hand slipped.
And there's lots of lovely little things in the original that he will not attack Tifa unless certain conditions apply, like other party members are dead, etc. Or like even in Remake, he will go to great lengths to try to put characters to sleep instead of Tifa to sleep instead of actually hitting.
Yep.
As to what is the source of why he has a crush on Tifa,
there never has to be a source. I mean, sometimes you see Tifa and you have a crush. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
That's fair. That's fair. Mark, I think I've never felt like there's a great answer to this. I think Before Crisis kind of gives an implication based on a relationship he has with a woman in that game, quote unquote. But that's a little subjective as an opinion there. So we're just carrying that on.
I had to say it like that. It feels like you want to say Garugamesh. Writes in on our survey. The Turks fight was a lot of fun, especially Elena's ridiculous scream when she's getting her ass beat.
That scream!
Dude, she gave it everything she had in the booth, man. She gave it everything she had in the booth.
But no voice actor held back in this game, but they delivered so hard.
The direction was like, I want you to just sound like somebody just shoved a knife into you and just twisted it, just like free.
Oh man! Did he break the sound barrier again? Are we 2 for 2 on the sound barrier?
Yep. I even made sure I subdued my scream. I subdued that.
No.
That peak. Oh,
again, once again, to all the wine drinkers, if you exist, sorry for the shattered glass and the stain on your floor.
Right.
Dan can't control himself. It seems like a once per episode thing.
thought I suppressed. Concurrent viewers haven't dropped. We're okay. Maybe it hasn't hit yet.
I mean, as a broader statement, I mean, I feel like Elena is a more complete character. To me, the best quote unquote birth for this chapter is just Elena is not merely defined as I am a girl character, and pretty much on all you could meaningfully say about her in original is she has a crush on Sung.
Yeah.
Like I think you're kind of hard pressed to say much more about her in the original. Her personality is distinct here. Her personality is very separate from the others. Her speech patterns are different. She's still, she's not just the shy new girl archetype or something like that. She is a pleasure. And I mean, in future chapters, they just build on it. She's very consistent. I think that it's very nice the way that they built her up to be a good character in her own right, not just kind of a weak random character that I would say she kind of was in original. So I think that that's a lovely development.
And before we talk about the battle itself, just kind of want to piggyback off of what you just said about how her character development in the original game was very, very flat, right? Like she was a little ditzy. She clumsy and like just kind of spewing off all the
saying
information.
Stuff too much.
Just giving away all the information. Now, I feel like this is a question. I don't know if it was like, maybe this is intentional. Maybe it's something that I spotted on the second playthrough that I'm like, okay, maybe they're trying to retain a little bit about how she's a professional, but she's still not like at the top of her game. She's not great at what she's doing because Sung comes in, and we're going to talk about the battle after this, but Sung comes in, does exactly what Excalibur said he was going. Pow, pow. Just shoots the robe dude. Starts shooting at after he says his little speech. He shoots at Barrett and Red to push them back a little bit, and then he goes Elena, and Elena. Maybe a get hype moment. I don't know. We'll see. I love the little hacky sack. Freaking pull the grenade. And freaking hacky sack. And then just boom. It looks really stylish and cool until she screws up, in my opinion, where she kicks the grenade and Sung just said, protect Aerith or look out for Aerith for me. And she kicks a grenade at her. Like, that can't be. Like, she promptly kicks the grenade towards Aerith. Like, I feel like
No. You're assuming that wasn't intentional, given that Sung has a crush on that.
Oh.
Yo.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh, the
subtext.
ditzy little blonde. I made an accident and killed the girl that my boss has a crush on when I have a crush on him. Oh, silly me. Haha.
All right,
Dude.
I like that. Dude, look at the depth we're going with this. All right, we have gone deep with this.
Can I ask a wait, you got a question? You got a question? You got the fingy. You got the fingy. All right.
Nah, this is not a question. We just got chat saying raise your mic. So how's our sound levels, guys? For
My
you,
mic?
Dan.
Yeah, you
your
need to be
mic.
raised up apparently.
I thought I broke the sound barrier.
That's why we need to raise you.
That's Mach
Raise your
1.
mic.
Let's try to get supersonic. Let's go above, Mach 3, Mach 4, right?
I feel like
that's
I'm
what we need
peaking.
for-
Yeah, can we get some feedback, chat? How's he sound now?
Goggin.
Gungagan?
Gungagan. I love that. You got to change your name. Gungagan. That's awesome. How's this? How's that? Sound good? My mic sound nice? Chat, you should have let me know an hour ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I think you broke the sound barrier and then your mic didn't recoup. It just happened. Don't get mad at chat. Chat, remember this moment. Remember who came to your aid. I defended you.
Damn, that really sucks. That means like look. I feel like I'm redlining here, but like, is that too loud? Anyways, that means like the first hour of this is going to be uneven. Maybe it's because I have a little bit of a cold. I have a little bit of a cold. It's number 1. Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. So,
okay, wait.
let's talk about
I have
the
a
fight.
question real quick. Wait. This is quick. I promise. Wait. All right. So, no. So Rude points out that she's new and a consummate professional. What I'm curious about is, if there's an answer for this and I just don't remember or don't know, like, please fill in the gaps here. What exactly was she trained and hired? Because to be a Turk, I feel like you need a lot of training, right? So if him saying that she's new, I don't know if this is just one of those things that you don't need to think too hard about, but I always wondered this where, like if she was getting trained in the background during, say, the events of like Remake, sure, and they're like, oh, hey, we got a guy out of commission and we need you to step up to bat now. But I've always kind of wondered when exactly was she stepped in. All right, you got to.
I mean, I think it's totally fair to say, okay, and she graduated from the academy. Like, now, granted, maybe the Turks don't have an academy. I'm using a military analogy because I'm thinking
future spoiler or future memories here. We do get a side quest about that, so later on.
Yeah, I know about that, but that still raises the question. I feel like that didn't. Maybe I'm misremembering, but it didn't answer it for me.
It's not. I mean, it's not uncommon in the military, and I know the Turks aren't the military, but I think the analogy holds that in times of crisis, unfortunately, you reduce the training from 1 year to 9 months, etc., etc. I would say everything that happened in Midgar counts as enough of a crisis situation that they might be like, you know what. Yeah, we're going to be like, okay, you know what? 9 months training is good enough because we need replacements.
And that's why she kicks grenades at the priority targets.
Also, a little bit of nepotism.
To get the bitch out of the way for her interests.
I love that. A little bit of nepotism, too. Her sister was in the Turks. If you played...
I was going to say, I don't know how much we were going to talk the before crisis element of that.
Like handgun or whatever. But yeah. Mm-hmm. She was in there.
I'm just curious. So I know Dan, you've done Before Crisis. Have you other guys had the pleasure of going through and watching every single one of those videos? It takes forever.
Well, I tried to play it and it actually shot my computer down. I don't know what bum ass version of the game I tried to download was an English translation, and it didn't work.
I didn't even know there were any.
I found one, and I don't recommend trying it unless I fucked something up because I had to get a whole new laptop. Let's say after, I'm not blaming. No, I'm not blaming that. That's not what. That's not why that worked. But like that was one of the last things I tried while that laptop was at the end of its life, and then I think it cooked it.
Man, you downloaded some Genova cells, bro. Like you forget your computer got a virus. All right, what did you guys think of the boss fight? This is a boss battle here. We got Excalibur and Doc Locke coming in with Rude and Elena as their best battle. So Doc Locke, since Excalibur took the last one here, Doc Locke, why is Rude and Elena your favorite battle?
Well, I mean,
over the Mythril Golem, I guess, is
I was gonna say, I mean, the dramatic weight of the Mythril Golem, wasn't exactly there. But independent of that, I mean, look, it's always gonna be more interesting to have a boss fight with characters in whom we're invested. Rude is a fun character. He is great. Elena, they made a great character. So even if objectively the combat was like, oh, I'll throw a phoenix down and immediately dies, even if that was the combat, you know what? I love the cutscenes. I love the dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
It's impressive to look at. I do actually feel like they did a great job of making them seem like they're competent. Right, like the lovely little scene where they're about to corner Elena, Tifa, and Cloud, that is, and then Rude is just like, "Oh, I'm gonna shove you off," because that's exactly what my biceps and shoulders are.
Right. How much strength up materia was he using to just throw both?
None is the correct answer because he doesn't need any.
There it is.
Yeah,
yeah.
Bro casually caught a sword.
Yeah.
It's
also,
that's my go.
Random fun note. You can bug out Elena if you actually get her toward the corner of the room, that she will get stuck at an in-between height and more or less not be able to hurt you for a long time, which I discovered completely by accident on this playthrough. I mean, in short, they have character, they have voice. I think it's. I remember on my first playthrough, it was a tough fight, in my opinion. Not as hard as Midgar Zolom, but like, there was no, oh, I got this element of things. I just think across the board, it's a decent fight.
So the Warrior of Hypes get hype moment is coming up. So I'm trying to figure out where it's at on this video, but
it's that, is it that attack?
Oh yeah, baby! It's the back to back Aerith attack.
Oh, the cutscene from the remake.
Cutscene.
The money shot.
The money
remake,
shot.
yeah.
Cloud
Not
and
commercials.
Tifa go back to back, and then they split, and then Aerith in the background with the freaking magic hit. That was freaking hype. That was, dude. I was really happy about that one. So here comes.
Honestly, they should make full party synergy attacks in the third game. Imagine having a 3-way synergy attack.
Oh my god.
That'd be cool.
Whoa.
Now, you won't have Eris in part 3, so.
Oh.
Yeah, it's fine, but like imagine like
throwing a spear. With the steel chair.
With the steel chair.
From the live stream off the top rope. It's
Oh man. All right, yo, that was good. Yo, do you have anything to add on that, Excalibur, since that was also your best battle?
I mean, he said it very eloquently. I would just add that I noticed that they had some synergy in the same way that the party has that, right? Rude protects her for things that they do to kind of like bring it all together. So, yeah.
I like that. That's cool. That's a good point, too. The Turks are synergizing as well.
So I have a elementary question that I don't.
Elementary was.
I beg pardon if this is obvious, but it's a question for this chapter. It's also a question for other chapters, and it could be different ones for different chapters.
I'm just kidding.
Why are Rude and Elena following the Black Robes right now? Like they specifically even ask the question. And their answer is more or less because we were told to.
Yeah, the whys and wherefores are none of our concern, or something like that.
Right, but so I am asking though, like, so who at Shinra ordered this and why? I mean, I know the answer in the original, but I don't know that that's true here necessarily.
I wonder if, because I feel like this might actually get an answer in future chapters. At least
for what it's worth, I don't recall the specific answer if it is in a future chapter. But I might
have something to do with
There
Hojo.
is a specific answer in a future chapter, but I don't. But but in my head, it's for that chapter.
Yeah. Because like it might be.
I have no reason to believe
what it is.
It might.
I feel like there's a carrot on a stick. I feel like there's a carrot on the stick right now. Are we able to just say what the answer is?
Well,
briefly?
I mean, the answer in a later chapter is that. Is that they're being rounded up and released, according to Hojo's instructions, after Costa del Sol. But it's an assumption to say that what happens later is the reason they're doing it now. For right now,
I would say
right
so.
now it could just be the original, the reasoning in original, which was we're trying to find Sephiroth, and this is how you find Sephiroth.
I feel like with the direction of Rebirth, I don't know if that's necessary, because it almost feels like the party doesn't even feel convinced that they're following Sephiroth.
Here we go.
So I think that lining up with the dialogue. Thanks, boys. Thanks for lining up your dialogue with my point. No, but we were talking about the change of following Sephiroth versus following the robes, and you bring up a good point. Like in the original. Yeah, they're following Sephiroth because it's a similar opinion. Like, hey, here's our only lead. Follow the lead. Yeah. But here, going by Rebirths, I think it's as you said, like what the spoiler is later, so to speak.
Yeah,
I think they're doing it on instruction of rounding them up, like Hojo's kind of got them doing right now. But it's funny we're talking about that because. I was wondering that too in comparison to the original, because it's very different context, but it's cool how they make it work and line up. So,
well, I mean, in the original, they're looking for Sephiroth, and it's more just like, oh, we're looking for a guy in a black robe. So, I mean, granted, everyone could be like, "Oh, I saw a guy in a black robe. I didn't get close. I will therefore assume it was Sephiroth because I didn't hear him going." I mean, I think actually one of the comments in the chat is particularly sage when it says, "quote Would Shinra cameras capture the black-robed man that Sephiroth previously possessed in remake?" Unquote. And I think that that is an unknowable question because it could be the case that that the individual objectively transforms to Sephiroth, or you could just play the card of Genova has the ability to make you hallucinate and make you think it's whatever. So you could get me to believe that it's a purely biological effect or that it's a legit.
Yeah.
The light is changing, is reflecting off of the object because the optical properties of the object are now the optical properties of Sephiroth instead of the optical properties of Marco next to Stargazer Heights.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very.
I can't believe I just talked about the index of refraction of black-robed men. For the record, this tells you that
This is where we
I
go,
got some
baby.
problems in life here. So
It's not problems. Let's get nerdy. I love it. All right, so Richard Stolz writes in the survey and says, "I like the continuation of the relationship between Barrett and Red. It started a little in remake, but Rebirth really expands upon it. And the mind section, they have to work together, and it was a good start for what's to come. So this is the moment where we take control of Barrett." So I believe somebody wrote this in. Sorry, but we're going to talk about it. I don't have your quote or your name. But how did you guys feel about playing as Barrett here? Was it satisfying? Did you like shooting rocks? Was this gameplay satisfying for you to play as Barrett, being like the first time? Well, no, it's not. This might be like the third character you play as. That's not Cloud, but it is one of our party members that we get to play as.
This is the first like fleshed out, not including the Zack interlude.
Yeah,
This is the first like
exactly.
fleshed out playthrough of a character
Yes.
that's not Cloud. And to keep it brief, it's cool.
It's good.
I'm cool with it. Shooting rocks is fine. There's a reason this chapter's not particularly
Great physics.
revisited
I love
amongst
shooting
the
rocks. East Blue. I love shooting rocks, man.
like, all right, well, okay, for that guy, this might be your favorite chat. I mean, no, like the shooting rocks is fine. I think I jokingly put that as my favorite side quest in this when we were talking about the accolades.
I have it on shooting rocks question mark.
Yeah. When asked what my favorite side quest in chapter 3 was, I wrote shooting rocks. I guess.
Here's the thing, man. When I was looking at this, I'm like, all right, let's dive deeper. Let's try to figure this out. So there's the question that must be asked. Once you're done with the Turks battle, they have the grenade blast, and then this Mythril Mines chapter continues. It keeps going. Now, I think a satisfying ending would have been that cool Turks battle. That would have been
I'm with you.
That would have been a cool, satisfying ending. In fact, I would have been cool with the ending being not fighting the Turks, and they sent us down. We fought the Mythril Golem as our final boss. But you have already given or the boss of the dungeon. So you've already given us a dungeon boss, and now we have to go down and do this even further. So the question I was asking, I was like, all right, let's find something of substance here. Why did they make us do this? There's got to be a reason. So as I was playing through it, I could not find something that was like, what's the meaning of this? What is the
Nanaki.
What about Nanaki?
I think that this is the game's way of forcing you to play Nanaki.
Okay,
I mean,
so you give a Barrett Nanaki, yeah.
Well, not even Barrett. Barrett's not even the point. As much as I would say that, and maybe I'm being charitable. I think it's totally fair to you with what you're saying that really nothing happens after this fight. It does. There's annoyingly little dialogue for the rest of this chapter.
Literally all I have. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Go ahead. I'll continue.
But I was just that. So, Red's fighting style is definitely different than everyone else's.
Yeah.
I would argue it's objectively harder. Not saying that he's not good, but I just think that, it's fundamentally predicated on guarding at the right time to make things work. He is more complicated. I wonder if this was one of the ways that the developers are trying to get you to play and appreciate Red early on. That you don't have a choice. You can't choose Barrett and you can't choose Cloud and the girls are Barrett. You have to play as Nanaki. That could be. I mean,
and then also giving us more of that fan service, a little bit of Barrett and Red, because a lot of people really like that. Go ahead, Excalibur. You said something. You had something to say.
I was just going to add to Rob's point and say, I mean, they give you a boss fight right after that. So you can't just play as Barrett. Like, even if you've been coasting, playing as Barrett this whole time, you're not a huge fan of Red, you're going to have to switch it up to Red a little bit in that boss fight just to make it through. So I do think that's a fair point. I agree with the comments also. It's definitely setting up for what you're going to see later, Cosmo Canyon. But, I would echo. I wish there was more dialogue.
And the other thing here too is I get the understanding of this, and without future spoilers, but like just kind of a glitch, like where this game is going to give us a character centric, like almost chapter, or at least a segment of the chapter, like here. So we're playing as Barrett. Do you guys feel like it was kind of odd that Barrett gets the Mythril mines, but he's not going to get the Corel?
Yeah.
That could completely. I feel like the Corel dungeon should have been Barrett's, but again, we will get to that.
Well, what do you call a Corel dungeon?
Well, the Corel, where you play as Yuffie, where you're playing as Yuffie,
Mount Corel,
Mount Corel, yeah, where you're playing as Yuffie rather than. I thought Barrett would have been.
I think a problem that they had to account for in their defense is they have to front load more Red and Barrett just because, unfortunately, they choose to have Yuffie join just before Mount Corel.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, oh, well, she's the new character. We got to have stuff her. Yeah. So it is. I mean, I'm really empathetic that, what characters they choose to include at all, like right at the end of Remake, they had no Nanaki. I'm fine with that. I did not consider that disappointing. It's hard to pace this out such that you're giving the character a chance to actually like legit play the character other than for like 2 chapters. So I think it's a real challenge. Or for that matter, when we get to FF7 Part 3, maybe just called Remuneration because they want our money. I don't know.
Remuneration.
Whenever we get to Part 3, I'm super empathetic how if at all they're going to make it work, that we have 2 new combat characters
beautiful.
Right from the get-go.
Can't wait. We got a lot to say about that.
That's not going to be easy to make work. And I'm empathetic that, if they decided like, actually Sid's going to continue to smoke us some cigarettes on the plane or something, like, okay, I can live with that because maybe they only want to give us one at a time.
Definitely not.
I can't. I need him.
I have a lot to say on that matter. Of course, future memories on that one, or at least getting out of pocket, I guess, a little bit, but like that is definitely a conversation I cannot wait to have. Well, taking that knowledge and like you're getting to play as Barrett, I know when the trailer dropped, we saw playing as Tifa, we saw playing as different party members. Did you feel that this was the best utilization of Barrett? So where I feel like Barrett, the whole gimmick of this dungeon for him is to shoot Mythril, that I just honestly could not figure out why. Like this why was this a mechanic to shoot the Mythril to get resources from it? I just feel like it was weird, a gameplay choice. I
agree.
I shouldn't have put a lot of thought into it. Like I know I should probably not.
No, it's
think
fair.
About it
it's
much,
weird.
I want to throw out what I think is the reason. I'm not saying this isn't concrete at all or anything, but I mean, 2 things. We just last chapter got introduced to the crafting mechanic, so this is a means of supplying us with more resources just in a simple gameplay way. It's like, hey, here, if you want to be more rewarded for, get that. I'm not saying it's a great way of rewarding the player, but here's something to do with that. Hey, we introduced a crafting mechanic. Here's an easy and fun way to get some resources. I think it's also setting up because Barrett will get a couple of shooting mini games posted after this. He is going to get one on the buggy, and he's also going to get one in the minecart. Reverse the order of that, but so it's just showing off. I think the auto lock shooting mechanic when you want to shoot at stuff. Again, neither of these are particularly fleshed out or anything like that. I think it's just hey, here's an introduction to that.
We got this.
I do think it's.
Go ahead. I was going to say we have this very light puzzle mechanic here of the mine carts.
Yeah, light.
I would say that it doesn't really make you think too much, right? This is literally a two-track. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me just go get this chest. It did get a bulletproof vest, which is actually pretty helpful at the beginning of the game. Cool. So you get a little reward there. I think this whole thing here, this even the vacuum, even the Mako vacuums, wouldn't be too bad if we just speed it up a little bit. And I think we can, you know what I mean? I think we can do that. Yeah. I think it would be within the realm of believability, where it's okay, Barrett has one arm. He's pushing this thing with one arm. Yeah, it's going to be a little tough for him. But you know what? Let's gamify it a little bit. Let's make him push this thing a little bit faster. All right.
I disagree. I think that's the wrong way to take it. I think the right way is that I think of for example, the quest we have in the next chapter where we are following the gosh darn dog from one end of the Junon region to the other. Right. And why is it not a problem? Because we have good dialogue through it. And that's what we're missing here. So I can live with the slowness of Barrett.
Okay.
I think they missed out in that this could have set the scene for Corel. It could have been the case that you had Nanaki being like, so you know something about mining, you moron, or something like that. And, he could have,
It would have been great if the whole purpose of this extra segment was to build character relationships. I agree. It would have been real great to have that.
Can I just throw something out there? I think, as we're talking about this, I think this just feels also weirdly paced, coming off the fact that we just had a really hype, what almost could have been, good conclusion to the chapter with the Turk fight.
Sure.
And I was thinking in my head right now, honestly, it would have been better. I mean, of course, adding the dialogue and stuff, and I don't think that playing as Barrett now would have been a problem, but I feel like a lot of the issues could have potentially, that we're having here, could have been relieved if they almost let us play as Barrett when the two of them split off the first time. And this is when you reverse the order that we did this. So when they split off, make most of the segment that we're seeing here, translate that into their little side thing going on, and then have the events line up where they see the rest of the party at the end. You could even still have the golem fight. They got to fight the golem, finish what they're doing, and then they catch up with the rest of the party who just caught up to the Turks, and then you could have ended the chapter. Yeah. Of course, sprinkle in all that stuff. I think that the weird thing about this is really just how it feels pacing wise. Granted, this is a very short chapter, so it's not like we're dealing with this for long. But I think that it just feels weird coming off the heels of a pretty intense fight, and now we're just shooting rocks and kind of trudging our way along with simple puzzles.
Yeah,
I feel like they just weirdly enough put this in the wrong half of this chapter. They could have just reversed it, and then I don't think that we would have had as much. I mean, we'd probably still have the same complaints about, maybe they needed more dialogue with each other and stuff. But as far as just where it was placed, feels almost a little odd to me.
Josh Z, thank you so much again for the super chat. Really appreciate
Josh on top.
Josh
dude.
is bringing that support, throwing the gill. I really appreciate that. So yes, actually, we did talk about Elena. You said if Elena misses one of her attacks and falls down the mine, it'll be a few seconds before she loads back into the fight. And her scream every time gets you. Yeah, we definitely mentioned that one as part of that fight. So, yeah. Now,
I have an elementary confusion, and
Okay.
maybe I should know this, but even back in Remake, I mean, they make it clear that Nanaki is not a fan of Barrett. I don't know why. Should we know why?
I think this is a decision that they made for remake trilogy to make them be bros. Like, I feel like that's more interesting to me. I like that they're bros. Honestly, it's a really cool relationship, and I'm glad that we got to spend more time with them. But I gotta agree with you so much about this is a great opportunity while you're pushing mine carts to really add to it, and they didn't do that. So I even have in my notes here to where, like, hey, to answer the question from earlier, no, not much happens after you fall. Like, you fall, and then yeah, you get a little bit. Yeah, Red 13 swimming was fun. You're just gonna float there. That was funny.
Barrett's animation when he swims, that freaking
Yeah, you ain't gonna beat me. You ain't beating me to the shore. I love that. That was great. So that was probably one of the best things that happens. Was it worth it for this extra 30 minutes of game? I don't know, or chapter, but also a satisfying and funny end to the ongoing 2 grand joke. So that was probably the biggest payoff for me for this chapter continuing, because I love an ongoing joke. I love a joke that can build and build. So good, very well written. Where it starts off with Cloud referencing the 2000, of course, this being a callback to the book 2000 Gil and a dream. I don't know what he said, but to make it or something. There's a whole short story written.
Building off the joke is great. You know, just like the fact that they fell at least 3 feet into the water.
Dude, how far of a fall do you think they fell, man? Like a total of 3 feet.
I was gonna say, as a resident jump expert, how far did Barrett jump down?
Yeah. I think he fell. The whole party, they all fell at least 3 feet.
At least 3 feet, right, guys? You think that's
maybe 4, maybe 4.
Can I say too? So Barrett being the biggest boy, right? In the first game, they have him run up all those stairs, assuming you did that. And now he has to climb more than any other character climbs with one arm out of the bottom of the
but his arm is bigger than my quadriceps. So, like, it's really not that impressive when you're that
His arm is bigger than my torso.
Like, it's
I don't care.
It's harder for me with my piddly legs than Barrett's. Like,
you know what he's climbing though?
Gravity is no problem for me. Okay, gravity's got nothing on my biceps.
Whatever he's climbing starts to go like this angle, and I'm like, this dude is a one-handed just freaking going.
Right.
Dan, I didn't want to interrupt you before because you were making a good point about something, but when he was climbing, he's the yellow paint. Let's go. He was climbing the yellow paint.
All the yellow paint.
Yeah.
Bro, you broke the sound barrier on that one where you just literally, like, the mic said, nope, I'm out. Like, it did not let you say.
Bro.
My mic hates the yellow paint scream.
It's funny because I played
that running joke.
I've been playing it on the freaking PC where I've put the mod on. All right, so I didn't notice yellow paint this time around. All right, and
it's not as noticeable.
I found it like a big boy. Okay, I was a big boy and I didn't need yellow paint to show me. I knew where I needed to go. You
found the obvious rock structure that's meant to be climbed.
And I turned off the climbing indicator, the little blue arrows that show, like, hey, it's right here, and then it's yellow. Go this way. Do we want to put a spotlight on it? Like, it's right here. No, I found it like a big boy, man. I was good. I had my big boy pants on, and I found that I climbed.
Nice.
Did a good job, man. Yeah. Honestly, this chapter wasn't as long as I thought it was, too, like, after playing it. So, I mean...
Dude, it went so fast.
Kind of blew through it, but... That Midgar, or not the Midgar thing, but the Mythril Golem, holy crap, that is hard on the hard mode. Like that is
Yes, it is.
that is a hard battle.
It is.
Man.
There is one
like
interesting thing in the remainder of the chapter, in my opinion, which is that to the point that I started bringing up in chapter 2 about this issue, or actually starting in chapter 1. What do they know from the singularity and what is lost?
Oh yeah.
At the end of this chapter, Barrett makes an explicit statement that, well, I understand Sephiroth is trying to destroy the world, and they specifically flash to the singularity.
Yep.
So, at bare minimum, everyone has remembered some things from the singularity. The Whispers have definitely... It's because you could have said, okay, the Whispers took everything from everyone, or everyone but Eris, or every only Eris, or there's different answers you could have hypothesized. And I'm trying to like note this as you go through the chapters, because I feel like it's a really complicated subject that it's harder and harder to keep straight as you go through. The way Barrett's talking, everyone in the party understands that Sephiroth is trying to... They understand that his goal is to, in some sense, destroy the world, and they all remember that. What else they remember from the singularity, I don't know, but that much we have to give them.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I love how this is going to be kind of like an ongoing thing for you as you go through these chapters, and you can maybe, hopefully, kind of pick up some pieces at here and there. I even made that as a note because I know you mentioned it in an earlier episode about like, hey, how much did they know from the singularity? And I was like, I made a note and I was like, oh, sweet. Let me, Rob, there it is right here. Like Barrett is referencing the meteor crashing down and stuff like that. Yeah. So what did we like? I had brought up the Mythril Golem on hard mode being a very difficult fight. This is my best battle. I thought the Mythril Golem was a lot of fun.
It was mine too.
Yeah. I mean, like, especially on hard mode sold me. Hard mode sold me on this fight where I was like, dude, I am really putting a lot of thought into how to defeat this thing. And whereas the Elena and Rude fight, I felt was still kind of easy. Once you know the strategy, you know.
It killed me to not put them as the best battle.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm being honest, because that fight is just... I don't know. I don't want to say it's more fun. It's just more personality. There's just right. Like there's more personality to it, and there's more engagement from like a fan standpoint. I feel like it's serving me from the fan standpoint. It's like, oh yeah, this is cool. One of my favorite characters is back on a personal level. But this fight is just, in my opinion, was just more fun. I was actually really surprised at how much fun this fight was going back to it, and the challenge of going back to it, because I feel like I almost underestimated it going in. Yeah. And then I was just rewarded with probably, in my opinion, the hardest fight so far. I found this one harder than the Zalem. I don't know if I'm alone in that sentiment, but yeah, like to me, this was just a really fun fight.
And it keeps you moving is another thing I really love about it. Where you're constantly moving around the battlefield, constantly switching. And I love a good fight that makes you reconsider your materia loadout to like find out what the weakness is. This is one of those battles, at least for me, where it was like, okay, I lost. Let me go back, reconfig, go back in. And I think those are my favorite, where there's a clear strategy, and I feel rewarded for understanding on how to beat them, especially on hard mode, y'all. This fight was intense. So yeah, I agree. I love this fight. It's mine as well. So me and Dragoon King.
So I have a question, and it's very fair to say you suck at games, because I probably objectively do.
I
really
thought you were
don't
talking to
play
me.
any video. Oh no, no.
I was like, yeah, just
annoying. It's just an
Damn.
annoying thing about the English language about to say you and we mean one. But
I
anyway.
know, it's just funny because I just finished talking about how like it was one of those boss fights I lost in, and I think it's fair to say you suck.
I found it hard. Well, no, I'm sorry. I beg pardon.
You're fine. It's just
it could
funny.
be a case people can say, you just suck at video games, but is Nanaki too hard to play?
He's a mainstay for me.
He's interesting.
He's a mainstay for me. He almost never left my party.
Wow.
If I'm being honest,
He was my least used character. Him and Kate Sith. Crazy.
Yeah, same.
Really?
I need to hear more about this.
Yeah, me
mainstay.
too. Go ahead. Take it away.
To me, what I found tricky is just that I feel like if you want to guard well, you have to know the timings of enemies. If you don't know, and you never know them ahead of time, like if you're just beginning, like if it's a straight up new fight, you're not going to know the times. You're going to have to lose a few times to learn the guard timings and whatnot. So to me, it's a much higher bar to make him work. And I'm not saying he isn't maybe more powerful if you do, but let me know. Am I being really awful at this? I have no idea.
No, because actually, I felt like for a good while I was playing him wrong, but I still kept him along. And it's not out of favoritism because I actually no, I realized chat didn't see them. I have a cat named Nanaki who is missing an eye. So for everybody out there, I'm putting my bias to the character aside when I speak on this. He was a mainstay because
right.
I just. Yeah, right. No, but to me, I don't know. It's funny that like the whole guard thing is. I felt like I played him extremely offensively. But you were right. I feel like when I got the hang of him, I did pick up on the guarding. And also, I'll put this out there. I'm a big Monster Hunter fan, so learning attack patterns and knowing when to react to them at the proper time is like my whole shtick. So to play a character whose biggest reward is guarding at the right time, I saw somebody in chat just saying Nanaki was so OP for me. I agree. I think Nanaki's honestly one of the best characters, but has a higher skill ceiling. And that's not to try and say that I reached that ceiling, because I felt like I was playing him, I don't want to say wrong, because the characters in this game have an archetype that you play them with. Obviously Barrett's ranged, and you do have to play to their archetype to some degree. But I think that this game is also interesting because there's a lot of flexibility. Some of the characters I think lend more to it than others. Like obviously Cloud is a very flexible character in my opinion. You could kind of mold him to be however you want to play him. For me, I felt like Nanaki was one of those characters I just played extremely offensively, built up the ATB, and when I needed to guard and play defensive, I could switch to him, not switch him, but switch to that, okay, lockdown, take the damage, take the attack, block, parry, whatever you need to do. So to me, he was just, I don't know. I had him as a mainstay because he was like an ATB machine to me. I could just... I don't know. I'm like trying to like emphasize my point more, but I think that was pretty much it.
Dude, I heard it. Dan. I heard it. Yeah, I think it's good. I think hard mode will force you to use him defensively. I started using him a little bit, but this playthrough around, I'm putting him in my party because when I first played the OG back in '97, my original lineup was Cloud, Barrett, Red. That was my team. I took all the way. So I was like, man, I kind of want to do that again. So for this Rebirth playthrough, I'm like, Cloud, Barrett, Red, let's go. So I'm still getting that like, oh man, how do I properly use him? And for me, the fun is figuring that out on my own. I know there's freaking tutorial videos. I can go watch Blitz videos all day if I want to. But for me, it's the fun of the game is for me to try to figure it out on my own. Especially this Mythril this Mythril Golem. There might have been an easy strategy, like, hey, pro strat video, watch this video, you'll beat him in 2 minutes. And I'm like, that's not me. I want to figure out how to beat him. And that was the fun of the battle for me. But yeah, so I'm using Red a lot more on this playthrough. This is kind of bringing us to the end. Doc Locke, the end of the chapter recap. We still have more to go for this episode. So Doc Locke brought up the, recalling the whole, like, okay, what does the party remember from the singularity? And this is kind of brought back around. We talked about that already, but we do see Barrett kind of giving a speech. He's like, I ain't stopping, not after what we saw. And then and he's like, Sephiroth's trying to kill the planet, and he shows the meteor crashing down. So we get that context. Now, I think this was actually pretty good for somebody who's unfamiliar with the original. So the whole following the Black Robes, who are the Black Robes? What are they doing? I think this context was needed for people who are not familiar with OG. And I might be mistaken about that. Like, if you're just starting with Remake, you're like, oh man, I don't know who these people are. But we find out in this chapter that we find out that they're Hojo's experiments. We find out that they're leading us to Sephiroth, and we find out that Cloud is following them. I feel like there's a lot of context added in this chapter for new players. Do you feel like you guys agree with that, and maybe maybe it was a little like flat for us just because we're like, okay, yeah, we get it. There's nothing new, nothing substantial, but for new players, maybe there was.
I think I brought this up in a previous pod that we spoke on, but yeah, I sometimes you do have to think about the perspective of the players who aren't well versed in this as much as the diehard fans. There's always that new perspective. There are people coming off the heels of Remake. There are some people who, crazy enough, just went into Rebirth. I don't know why you would do that, but you did. And now, then that scene was for you. Because you need, but it's one of those things where, to somebody who's well versed in the lore and the understanding of the story and whatnot, sure, this is just kind of rinse, wash, repeat. We've been here before. We've played these games before. I just finished Squid Game season 2, if you can't tell.
Great show. Really
it was great. But yeah, let's do that. We'll pivot to that discussion right now. Pivot. But holy shit, 3 like pop culture references back to back. Anyway, oh, gee. Thanks.
Richard Stalls.
I think sometimes
I'm going to make this interruption. I'm going to interrupt you because Richard Stalls says pardon the interruption, so it's okay.
Go for it. No, Richard, I saw it. Yeah, but I'll pardon for $30. You're good.
I'll pardon for. Hey, Richard Stolz, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate the super chats. Pardon the interruption. Just want to toss some gill here before I go to bed. Great show, boys. I'll catch the rest tomorrow. Thanks, man. Thank you so much for your support once again.
Have a good night, dude.
Yep.
Appreciate you, bro.
So I want to bring in a question for you guys from the chat or from the survey.
Sure.
From the survey. This might be covered in the breakdown already, but we see giant trees in the deeper parts of the Mythril mines. Possible that the mines were once a sacred site for the Cetra, or tied to the life stream. This could explain why such a powerful metal was found here. Do you mind if I actually answer this one? Do you mind if I take this away?
Take it away.
I was just reading and like, man, I feel like you just watched my Mythril Mines video, even though it's dated, and it's not going to make sense because it's a what to expect in Rebirth, before Rebirth came out. But I referenced this. This is crazy because in that video I talked about the ancient presentation that Shinra puts on in the VR room, and it shows the Cetra like going up to a water fountain and create a life stream waterfall, life stream fall, life fall, because it's not a stream, it's a life fall. So going up to the life fall and creating materia. Now, you can even just look at the thumbnail if you don't want to watch the video. In the thumbnail, that platform that she's on is extremely familiar to the OG platform that goes up, and it just leads up to a treasure chest. Remember the OG, this is only like 2 screens, but there's that platform that leads up, and it's just a treasure chest up there, but it looks so familiar. It looks so similar to what we see in Remake's ancient presentation. So the fact that you are making this connection with the trees going at that, like I guess there's roots and trees going in there. Freaking cool. We can always bring that back to the Mo's gonna kill me. The Yggdrasil from Norse mythology. Isn't that the tree of life?
Yggdrasil. Yep.
Thank you.
World tree.
Oh, the world tree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool. Whereas Mythril is only found in this location, as Barrett says. It's very rare. Only ever been seen right here. So this has got to be a sacred site. What's up?
Well, I mean, this is not a lore thing, but it's a gameplay thing. Just because it always frustrated me that I found more. It seemed like I felt more Mythril in the Nibelmines chapter than here, which I was like, well, this is false advertising. Gameplay thing, not a lore thing.
It's a different mineral, man. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, that's a very interesting connection you made that I also made. Very cool that it might have been a Cetran holy place before then. I also kind of want to throw this back to something I had written down in my notes that I kind of just passed over. The fact that this Earth's or Gaia's one of the most beautiful and precious resources can now just be manufactured. Like I feel like there's something to say about that, but I just couldn't really put it into words. I just thought it was like maybe there's something deeper to this where Barrett's talking about like how beautiful. Even Red 13 goes, it's beautiful. Everybody's talking about how this resource is so beautiful and it's natural. But then they talk about how Shinra produces these in a lab and just pumps them out, and it's got it's got that sheen, it's probably infused with some Mako and all that other stuff. And it's like
he even says they can make better alloys now.
That's what I wanted to point out.
Elite. Yeah.
It reminds me of diamonds in the real world, whereas these diamonds, nowadays, diamonds are starting to be just manufactured and people can't really tell the difference. So this rare resource is now just being produced. I don't know. I thought there was something there.
There is. It's just I don't know if I'm philosophical enough.
Yeah, exactly.
I just wanted to say that. Yeah, I wrote down Mythril is rare and durable. It was at one point sought after. It was incredibly valuable, sought after, rare material. But now it just, like you said, just pales in comparison to what Shinra's able to produce, and it's. I want to feel like I'm smart.
Yeah,
but I
feel
can't
there's
think
something
of
here. There's something here.
I mean, you can choose to take it a bunch of different ways. You could choose to take it as, this is a testimony to the hubris of man, that we are outperforming nature. We are greater than nature. With all of our knowledge of polymer chemistry and ceramics and material science, we are better than what occurs naturally. And you could take that as the Shinra creed in some sense, that they are
that's
better.
Shinra's whole shtick.
Yeah.
Look at everything that they do. I mean, this is a good example with Mythril. I mean, soldiers are just genetically enhanced people. It's taking people but making them better. They want to find the promised land to make Neo Midgar. They just want to, take everything and build upon it and flex their muscle almost. So thank you, Rob, because now I feel smart.
We're getting there, baby. We made something out of this, and then Toolman echoes that with the idea of humanity can outdo nature is surely a core theme of Final Fantasy VII. So echoing what you just said there. Did you have a second flip side of the coin? It sounded like.
I mean, I think a flip side. I don't think this is the artistic direction necessarily, but I think a flip side is, well, isn't that kind of good? In other words, instead of plundering, planet,
I was like, Mythril, I feel like there's a message here, right? This respects, but then you got Barrett down there shooting at the hell.
Well, yeah. I think. Well, this is partly why I actually thought that once I blew up the first rock with bullets, because the physics on that, that totally makes sense.
Satisfying, baby. Yeah.
No, it's so
Ignoring
sad.
that,
I wrote that it's satisfying. The crates, especially.
Yeah, but at least with crates, if you had a high caliber bullet, I could see that. But anyway, I'm not going to go down
We're thinking too much on his gun arm. I mean, the guy never has to reload. Think about that for a second. Where does he store all his bullets? Where? We can get deep on that, but
it's like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. He just like makes it in his blood, and he just like it's just in his veins, man. He just like loads his gun with it. It's good.
But I mean, I think it would have been interesting to see something to the effect of, Barrett. As soon as you saw Barrett mining with his bullets, etc., I thought that you were going to have Nanaki in some way start criticizing about saying, "Oh, so this is what you do to appreciate the beauty of nature."
Man,
this
he's
is
so
how
hard on him.
Are you really different than Shinra? Aren't you still mining and plundering the planet's resources?
Where I was like, man, I'm reading into this a little too much. It's just a fun little gimmick. It's just a fun little gimmick.
Yeah.
But it kind of plays with the themes in a weird way. Like it's one of those things where we are overthinking it, probably. Almost certainly.
Are we having fun
yet? Sephiroth versus Aerith is also an example of this. Toolman says, I guess if we dig in deeper where Aerith is natural and then Sephiroth is created, man-made. Good stuff. I like
he's Genova. He's not.
Yeah, but
he is the
lab.
Genova
He is lab created.
He's a product of science.
From what?
Aren't we all a product
of
alien?
He's lab grown. He's lab
grown from an alien.
Hojo, he's not meaningfully. What Sephiroth is actually not that much science. Hojo is in some sense not that great a scientist. All he's doing is sticking Genova in crap and being like, haha, I'm a genius. I stuck more Genova into this and it worked.
That was more of a twisted artist than a scientist.
Haha, a great scientist. I stuck more Genova into stuff.
Professor Gas, great scientist. Hojo?
Yes, Hojo's just a twisted artist. He just wants to make cool little art projects and then they go and fuck things up.
Everyone should be thinking about Mac and Abridged right now in terms of, because it's my fetish. So if you haven't seen FF7 Mac and Abridged, go watch it. It'll make you happy. And that's honestly, I thought Mac and Abridged had a truth that Hojo isn't that smart. He's just injecting shit with Genova and being like, haha, it worked really well. I am so smart.
Whoever said Sephi is a Resident Evil experiment, I just want to say thanks. I'm wearing
nice.
I'm wearing a Stars hat right now, so I had to point that out. Just for you, you'll get the rest of the stream. You get to see the Stars hat.
Hey, so for the whole question must be asked thing, and I was like, there's not really much to write home about with Red and Barrett. I do want to throw in also, in addition to the Mythril Golem, the ongoing joke, getting a good payoff, and the banter or whatever at the beginning. FF7 Music writes, the standard battle theme that plays during the battles when Barrett and Red 13, absolute peak. And FF7 Music also hits me with a bunch of really fun facts. Would you guys like to hear some fun facts from FF7 Music?
I love fun facts.
So shout out to FF7 Music. Always, man, just providing some great fun facts from now on for the future FF7 Music. I might just ask you hey, do you want to record a 30-second video and you say these words yourself, right? So that way it's coming from you. I think that's kind of cool. So maybe we'll do that one. A couple fun facts here. There's an interesting cutscene track that plays when Barrett and Red split from Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. It is the exact same length as Follow the Black Robe's Mythril Mind, so that it can seamlessly transition no matter where the music is when the player triggers the cutscene. However, due to the short length of the cutscene, it is impossible to hear the entire arrangement on any given playthrough. So this, he says that it just goes to show that composer, arranger Shotaro Shima did far above and beyond what is probably even asked of him for doing an entire track when most of it just wouldn't be used. And then I'm going to keep on going here. Let's find some. I can't read them all. He even comes back with some cool callbacks to Chapter 2, where there's 18 short tracks for the transition from the grasslands to the swamplands, depending on where you are, like where you're entering. 18 of these will trigger. So it is possible to hear all of these in a single playthrough if you repeatedly go back to the grasslands and then back into the swamplands. So that's kind of cool there. Okay, wait, there's one more thing that is technically Chapter 2, but really should be a Chapter 3 discussion. Before you enter the Mythril Mines after defeating the Midgard Swarm, another unique version of Follow the Black Robes, an arrangement of In Search of the Man in Black from OG, is heard. It transitions into a unique cutscene arrangement of the same theme at the very beginning of Chapter 3. So that's kind of cool. None of this stuff was on the OST. And then this battle theme that FF7 Music was talking about, how it's awesome it's exclusive to Barrett and Red. The battle theme that plays here is not on the OST.
It sure ain't.
It's not, no. And it is, I want to say it's so bad that it is my best music. I am conflicted, y'all. I am very conflicted. So I'm going to hold this to when we talk about accolades in just a second. Because we're gonna talk about that in just a second. Now, I do want to ask another question from the survey. What did you guys think of the new rendition? This doesn't have to be a long answer. What did you think of the new rendition of Search for the Man in Black? Excalibur, I want to hear your voice.
I know you do.
Yeah, man. Just hit me with
I know
that.
you do.
Just hit me with those
I do too.
man. Let it tickle my eardrums, man. Let's just
I loved it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good.
I don't even know what else to say. Like I loved it. Like it just
It's cool.
puts me in the right place when I'm listening to it.
Yeah, I was like going into this expecting. I was like, for my Mythril Mines video, I was talking about, oh man, they might even do some like dwarven hits. You know, like, they're gonna go. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
Not yet.
And that brings me to another question from @Ollie_Bart. Thanks so much for writing into the survey, just like you can. When that survey is in the description. It's going to be in the description. It's going to be posted on X or Twitter soon. And it'll be posted on YouTube. So if you're a subscriber, pay attention to those just random posts where I'm like, hey, fill out the survey. Because you could also get your question onto this show in like a discussion. And we'll talk about it. It'll be fun. Ollie_Bart says, do you think the party will return to the mines? I love how you use return. In part 3. Do you think we'll go back to the mines? Do you want to go back to the mines?
I'm sure there'll be something that will be based out of Calm or based out of Junon that you have to go fetch, I don't know, someone's turtle wax, and they dropped it in the cave.
Better.
And you have to go into the cave.
A much more exciting proposition. What if...
I'm sorry, what would that be?
What if you weren't told to go? What if there was no quest to go? What if, out of curiosity, you stumble...
Oh, so the paint would be blue instead of yellow.
You follow the blue paint, and you go into the Mythril Mines.
Totally different.
And it's... You have a whole nother, like... I don't know, discovery down there. Maybe there's a super boss waiting at the end. Maybe there's a bigger Mythril Golem. What if...
Mythril Golem 2?
Yeah, it's like freaking huge. It is freaking huge. I think that would be kind of cool. Like, I would love to just say, you know what, I feel like going back to the Mythril Mines, and you get a cool discovery. You're rewarded for your exploration. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think that they can do stuff with this. I mean, they have this world built. I'd say, why not utilize it? Let's give us something fun. It doesn't have to be a fetch quest, because that's not fun.
They could do the thing where they want to explore more of this republic that they're establishing. Have somebody be like, "Hey, I got something in the mines. Bring me some Mythril back." A fetch quest, no. Like, but you could just find something, or or hunt something in there. There's a lot of angles that they could take. That is there a reason to go back narratively? No. But
there might be a narrative reason. I'm trying to think. The OG keeps it lives in the back of my mind always. In the OG, isn't it the weapon seller that's looking for Mythril?
Yes.
Yeah,
Excalibur. Wait, no. That's the sleeping guy. That's the sleeping guy to get great gospel. The guy with the Mythril is not the Con Traveler. Is that who you're thinking of?
You're thinking of the Con Traveler.
To get Eris.
Yeah, Con Traveler wants
Mythril.
Other things than the Mythril. No. The Mythril is what you give to the guy to get great gospel.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Yes,
he's correct. The weapon seller, right? Or he's the guy who. He's the weapon seller.
That's the sleepy guy in Junon. That's not the Con Traveler.
I thought he was the guy
in the original.
He's the guy on the little peninsula. I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it sounds smart. The peninsula, where he's got the great gospel in a chest on the wall, right? And he doesn't believe in the temple of the ancients. He's like, oh man, that's a freaking
yes.
Yeah, is that so? That guy, he's not the weapon seller. I might have been mistaken.
He has the rare. He's not the Con Traveler. Was my only construction.
Okay, cool.
But sure.
But he's looking for Mythril.
A rose by any other name would smell as sweet.
Yes, I love that.
I have a thought here for this whole thing, right?
Yeah, go for it.
I have an opinion.
So, it's not an opinion. I don't have a lot of those. I just have thoughts. So,
that goes hard. I'm sorry.
In Crisis Core, we see a weapon in the cave, right? That's
right.
Under, was that Benora?
Or underneath Benora, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So if you go way back, if you're an old head like let's just say me, I'm not going to include anybody else. If you want to feel included in the statement, you can include yourself. There used to be all kinds of rumors, right? So you go on GameFAQs and some of these other forums, there's all kinds of rumors. There used to be this rumor about an onyx weapon, and there was this whole process you had to go through, and he came out of the marsh right there by the mine. So if they want to do some kind of interesting fan service, you could put a brand new weapon super boss.
Ooh. Sir, I abhor you. You're giving life to those awful rumors that consumed our lives back when the internet was
Remember,
in its infancy.
This is not an opinion. This is just a thought. Do what you
Now,
want.
wait, better yet. Okay, so wait. I wasn't there for those days, but what would be funny and maybe in line with the kind of humor they throw into these games sometimes is that you're getting a lead on Onyx Weapon, but it's actually just something totally different, and people are confusing it to be that, and it's playing on the whole like rumor that was being spread. It's like it just turns out to be some guy who's like groaning really loud, and it's echoing through a cave, and it's like, what the hell is he doing there? It's like the Lost Miner. He's like, just a drunkard in the bottom of the freaking cave, and people are like, wow. Is there another weapon emerging from the planet? No, it's that guy.
This makes me realize what they need in part 3. In part 3, they need to have some jerk. It's like, hey, I know you just lost someone really important to you. If you go and get me 12 3/4 Shinra things, whatever. Remember all that, like, just so he's basically going to list all the stupid stuff that people would list online for here's how you can revive Eris if you only get all of the Shinra 1/4 soldiers and you walk backward and like moonwalk, etc. Like, I mean, just random dumb stuff there.
That's why the game is going to be called Revival. You heard it here, baby. Everybody's going to be like, yo, revive!
No, it's going to be called Roche.
Roche.
It's Roche.
Re-Roche.
Re-Roche.
He's back. He gets his own brand, man. Good for Roach.
And I apologize that there are some people in the chat addressing me in French, but I can't type back, and I'm not trying to ignore you, but
That
I also
must
don't
be
want to exclude
Renaissance.
people by randomly switching into French. So
It might be Renaissance, but yeah, I think he... Yeah, I can read it for you. Absolutely. Bonsoir, monsieur.
No, I saw
it. I can't read it, sorry. Oh, he said Daniel at the end.
Yes, he was
So,
just saying, good
I read
evening,
that.
Doctor, in the blue shirt. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dan. Have a good evening. Something to that effect is what I remember.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Je
much.
suis désolé à tout le monde, mais je ne peux pas parler français maintenant parce que ça ne sera pas très poli. I'm not going to do that because that would be
Word.
Beautiful. Yeah, I would word, yo.
What?
I get the notice in the hey, you've been banned from YouTube, but you can't have that. All right, y'all.
He said what?
He said, whoa.
Right.
All
Pardon
right.
his
So,
French. Pardon his French.
pardon his
Not
French.
Pardon my French, but
The only good thing about knowing French at this point in my life is that it's fun to play remake and play rebirth chapters in French because like sometimes I'm like, that is Bugenhagen a jackass in English only, or is this also true in other ones, and etc. etc. So whenever there's like, oh, wonder how they translate planetology. It's like, okay, they translated that as astrobiology. Not a bad translation. Okay, I can. So it's fun to kind of see like
You get the-
in other
yeah,
languages how
yeah.
they pull this off.
That's cool.
You know,
that's cool.
So, guys, let's jump this into our accolades mode. Let's go accolades mode.
Sure.
Just in case we missed anything, this is our opportunity to say, oh, look, forgot to talk about that. So, in our works shopping after the show, after our 4.5 hour show, we talked for another 2 hours. And we were like, yo, we need to have this. So, you guys need to have a visual of what our awards have been these past couple chapters. So to do that, here we go. This is chapter 1, Fall of a Hero. Best music, Warrior of Hype said Materia Keeper. Best battle, Materia... No, wait. Let's just go across the side. Best music, Materia Keeper. Nebel Reactor from Excalibur. Towards the Mount Nebel for Dr. Lockhart. Another Buster Sword for Dragoon King. This is an interesting one where we all chose something different. We usually, that was all a unique choice there. And we're going to go through this because this is chapter 1. So best battle, Materia Keeper across the board. Best side quest, there was only one, Tifa's home. Best rebirth, Sephiroth's Revelations. Sephiroth returns to the reactor. Britt Baron's performance from Dr. Lockhart. And Nibelheim, the town itself. Best birth, Warrior of Hype says the post flashback calm in, and this was across the board as our best new thing featured in a chapter that prominently features Zack. Just want to throw that out there. Anyways, I know no hard feelings there. But the get hype moment, Sephiroth's one finger parry, so good. We'll go.
I just want to say the rebar was still pretty epic. I know it didn't make the damn hype moment, but like, come on, man. The guy threw a fucking rebar into a helicopter. All right?
Rudder up. Rudder up.
Rudder up. It was close.
I see this nuanced.
Dude, like another inch over, and he would have smacked the rebar right into the get hype moment. But whatever, man.
How high did you think he threw that rebar?
At least 3 feet.
At least 3 feet. And we go over to chapter 2. Chapter 2, our best music was, for me, On Our Way, A Sense of Calm. That was my favorite track, favorite theme there. Excalibur says Hollow Skies. Dr. Lockhart says main theme of Final Fantasy. I said 8. Whoops. Main theme of Final Fantasy 7 Battle Edit. Duel with the Divine for Dragoon King. So again, for our best music, we have different tastes. We all choose something different again for this one. Best battle was the Midgard Swarm all the way across the board because it was either that or the Quetzalcoatl or maybe even the Flower Quest with the what was it, the Mandragoras. Heck yeah, baby.
So,
Or Beck's badasses.
Yes, that could have been it. Beck's badasses could have been it too. So there was some options,
Yeah,
but the Midgard Swarm, that was awesome. Beta attack, baby. Best side quest, we go with me saying Broden's side quest. That's me and Excalibur. Wait, no, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Just me. Excalibur says the proto relic phenomenon. That's his Beck's badasses, and of course, I mean it's Excalibur. Of course, he's gonna go with the Gilgamesh quest, Garugamesh. And then we go. I can't do that. Aerith's flower quest for Dr. Lockhart, and a rare card lost. That was Tifa's quest. So again, we all chose something different there. Best rebirth, we had the Town of Calm for me. Just the town itself, I think, was redesigned so beautifully. Awesome. Swamp on Chocoback for Chocobo for Excalibur. Entering the open world for Dr. Lockhart and the Town of Calm, once again, for Dragoon King. Best birth, Queen's Blood for me and Dragoon King. The Escape from Calm for
We just have
Excalibur.
great taste, bro.
We have great taste, bro. We have great taste. And Broden, the character for Dr. Lockhart. The get hype moment was beta attack, and then the music kicks in, y'all, with the Midgard sword. Oh, so good.
And it's only because Zach couldn't throw the rebar into chapter 2.
Yeah.
I promise that joke ends here. I'm only a little salty it didn't get the hype moment, but that's fine.
Here we go on. Here's our chapter 3, everybody. So this is where we take a look at it. You know what? If you didn't get to say what you wanted to say, now's your opportunity to do it. So for best music, Warrior of Hype, that's me, says, oh man, I can't decide. I'm going to come back to this. Whereas the Excalibur says, the Follow the Black Robes Mythril Mines, where he said, hey man, there's not much else to say about it. I love it. And then, and then that was actually across the board there. Where that
Whoa. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to point out when we talked about the music discussion, not to give you more work later, but if you got to revise this, it's still Follow the Black Robes, but it's specifically the Barrett and Red version, where they just add a little bit more bass, if I'm not mistaken. After they fall into the water and get out, it's Follow the Black Robes.
Yes.
But it's like a more like bassy, kind of grungier version of it. I think that one's my favorite. Just got to put that out there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it is a little different.
Sorry for the on-stream revision.
No, that's cool. That's
I had
cool.
to.
I got it. We fixed it there. So, for me, I actually didn't put the Follow the Black Robes, which is actually really surprising for me, seeing how I freaking hold the original game in the highest of regards. So usually it would be, you would think for me, it would be like, oh, anything that's the original, oh, absolutely. But my God, Final Fantasy VII music rocks. You know what I'm saying? The voice is gone, but I can still do the Warrior of Rock for that one. All right. The freaking Red Barrett battle mix. Whoo! It only plays when Red and Barrett are in the battle. The Mythril Golem. The reason why that one's on the list is because literally the first 30 seconds. So like the first 30 seconds is incredible. That I was like, every time I was going through this thinking, oh, this is better than that. And then the Mythril Golem, the first 30 seconds. And I'm like, when the freaking thing is like forming and like it's got that like orchestral beat. I'm like, oh man, so good. But the Subterranean Grind, that's the regular battle music when you're with Cloud, Tifa, Aerith. I'm having a real hard time with that. Chat, what do you think is the best music? I want to hear, and I'll come back around, and I have to narrow that down to one. The best battle, Mythril Golem for me and Dragoon King, Excalibur and Dr. Lockhart, said Runa Lena. We talked about those. Best rebirth, the Turks interaction for me and good taste. Great taste. Great taste.
I had a friend, I just want to say real quick, I had a friend point out that he said, you and Dan are kind of similar, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of see that. We just got great taste,
It might be the reason why I reached out to you. It's like, it might be,
Maybe.
yo,
You just wanted that youthful version of yourself. Oh, I didn't get him.
Oh, man, gonna hit me
Nah,
with
but-
the youthful version of it. The compassion for the roadmen, we talked about that. Excalibro and Rude and Elena battle was actually your best brand new thing introduced, Dr. Lockhart. So, awesome.
Yeah, I mean, again, when I say battle, I'm really referring to just like the
fact that
character
you're fighting-
introductions were in a battle, but yeah.
Okay, I get that.
So
like,
I can see I did not write that very well. I beg pardon.
we'll figure out a way to write this better. We got to find out the idea of a battle.
Just say Robert sucks at communicating. It's okay.
No, you're good. We got to find a way to write that better. We'll figure it out. Let's do a fun way. We'll have a fun way. The get hype moment was Cloud, Tifa, back to back. And then they break away, and then Aerith is back here. So they like, and then they back. Boom!
No rebar needed. No rebar needed. It was hype on its own. This one I get
You lied when you
1000%.
said you weren't going to bring
No,
that up.
I had to say
you
but
could not.
I promise it stays behind here because no, this one I 1000% agree with.
How far back do you think Aerith was from when they were back? I'm just kidding. We're gonna
Part
beat that to
3
death.
is going to be called Rebar. at this
Rebar.
point.
Yeah, prediction?
Final Fantasy
Fantasy 7
Rebar.
Rebar?
Bro,
It's not an opinion. It's just a thought.
I hope the cover art is just like a small Zack in the back and the freaking rebar coming right at the camera. Like, right
I want to get like a freaking I'm going to get shirts made for Excalibro. It's going to be like, it's not an opinion, it's just a thought. And then for for Dragoon King, it's gonna have a picture of the rebar, and it's gonna be like, it's gonna have the measuring thing and say 3 feet, at least 3 feet. What was it like? Is it like do you put the squiggly line when it's about 3 feet? What do you do? I can't remember. It's like the
All day.
Yes, thank you.
All day meaning approximate.
Yeah, approximately 3 feet is what it's gonna say. What we're gonna do for Doc Lock, we haven't figured it out yet, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
I have no personal.
You're gonna get a tagline. You're gonna get that tagline.
We'll find it.
Yo, we did it. A 2.5 hour discussion. This was our shortest one yet. We're almost done. I do want to just kind of go back to the panel here, to the chat. If you guys have any thoughts, now's the time. Hey, because we actually did a pretty good runtime here. So if you have any questions, let us know and we'll answer them quickly. But panel, let's bring it back over to you. But before we do that, let's take one.
This is a rare opportunity, chat. Take
Yep.
it because you're never getting this time again.
No, because
So
we're about to get in. Yeah.
So in case people want to play along with us, how do we want to subdivide chapter 4?
That is a great question because what we're going to do, I was thinking about it. I think we'll begin as if we're going to cram it into one episode. And if we feel like by the time we get out of the Undercity, then we're going to go, okay, this is a two-parter. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say that it's more than likely this is going to be a two-parter. Because Chapter 4, as we talked about, is kind of a two-parter in itself, where we have the Undercity, and then we have Upper City. And that's still just Chapter 4. And outside of Junon, we have all the side quests that we can do out in the open world. We have all the open world stuff in the Junon area. That's still Chapter 4. So I'm very, very excited to talk about Chapter 4, personally. So it's going to be very interesting. I think two parts for this one. So we are going to be back next week to talk about Chapter 4, but just keep in mind, we're probably going to break this up into 2 parts. I don't want to go 3 parts. So I want to do 2 parts if we need to, for chapters. So
3 parts for any series is way too many.
It's too much, right? So like even when we get to the end where we're going to have so much to say, like even chapter 14, that's gonna be like, hey, it's a 2-part
No one
breakdown.
got the joke.
Huh?
No one got the joke.
What did you say? Oh no, what did I miss? I missed it.
3 parts would be way too much for any franchise. It would.
Oh!
I didn't even.
Rebar out the window.
3 parts is too much.
Dude, I was so enthralled by Dan. I'm sorry that fell on deaf ears.
That's how crappy
I thought,
that
I was like, yeah, absolutely.
I was just.
I thought
was
he was
just-
agreeing. I was like, yeah, like my mind doesn't work like that. I was like, he's like, no, 3 parts is too much for anything, and I'm like, yeah, absolutely is what I'm trying to say.
Bro, I might have disassociated.
Yo, we've gone on too long. We've gone on too long with the Mythril
We got
lines.
on too. I was gonna say I've delved into madness. I'm too deep. Get me out.
Mr. Bigglesworth says, Mr. Bigglesworth. I love it. Says, Chapter 13 is going to need 3 weeks. I think you might be right about that, the Temple of the Ancients. If they put more of the compilation into Rebirth, it could potentially have been another 3 to 4 chapters. I get that. And then we go with, which is interesting because Mythril Mines, what was originally just 2 minutes, couple screens, 2, 3 screens, was an entire chapter.
4.
So, what did you guys think about that before we go? Did you guys, this is how I want to end it. This is the topic, and we can kind of go one by one. You don't have to go into too much detail, but do you feel at the end of this that you enjoyed the Mythril Mines being its own chapter? Do you feel that, like, without it, we are missing something? Do you feel like it was too long? Or what was your, like, do you feel this was necessary to have an entire chapter? Were you expecting that going in? I'm throwing so many questions at you to give you ammunition to kind of talk. Were you expecting a long chapter going into it? And was it like what you wanted in the end? Were you happy with it?
I'm
sorry.
gonna say who's stepping up to bat first.
We'll start
man?
with
I can go first,
Doc
sure.
Lock. We'll start with Doc Lock and go down the line. There you go.
I totally expected this to be a whole chapter. If nothing else, to me, it just would make sense matching the original that Midgard's is a natural stopping point. You have a change in the physical setting. You know, you want to do, whenever you tell a story, you want to have, rising action and falling action. Just like in Remake, Wall Market, huge rising action. People make fun of the sewer chapter thereafter. I'll be one of the first to defend it for various reasons. One of them being, look, you need some falling action in order, right? You can't stay at a perpetual state of adrenaline rush, or it just doesn't work well for storytelling. In the same way, we were going to have a crescendo with the Midgard. We had to come back a little bit, especially because we all know a ton of stuff happens in Junon. So to me, the story-wise, it had to be this way. Did I enjoy it? Truthfully, no. They kind of dropped the ball with the dialogue, that they could have had a lot more character conversation. You could have built them up a bit more. There could have been more world building. I think one thing at which Rebirth generally excels is world building.
Yeah.
And I think that, this is an oddly emptier chapter, I would argue, compared to most. And so I can't honestly say I particularly enjoyed the replays of the chapter that I've done. I think that even some chapters in Remake where, so to speak, nothing happens, they'll still have beautiful moments that to me end up being a lot more memorable in terms of character interactions. So I would say I expected this. I don't think this is their best work, to be honest. But I mean, I'm happier. It's certainly better than the original with its 4 screens,
right,
etc.
Exactly.
But I think that in Remake they showed how excellently they could do stuff. I think the Train Graveyard's awesome. My wife and I replay the Train Graveyard chapter Haunted every year at Halloween as a tradition because it's so well done.
I love that. That's
I
awesome.
think they could have done more here for Deeper into Darkness. I mean, I kind of feel like there really wasn't any sense of peril. Like the name of the chapter implies, like,
Yeah.
we're gonna fight a freaking Balrog, and I feel like the worst that happens is we got some random Mythril golem who was
Yeah, Deeper into
wasn't exactly
Darkness
scary.
was the chapter name, and I was actually going to bring that up too, where I think we should start paying attention to these chapter names a little bit too. Whereas Deeper into Darkness was definitely a foreboding. Yeah, it was oversold. Yeah, where it's just kind of like, all right, something really crazy's going to happen. But yeah, like the only thing I could have possibly associate that with was Cloud just subtly like disregarding. Like you can see that he's going a little bit deeper into darkness. I don't know. Where when the robe guy fell. Now, Dragoon King. I'm going to I want to switch up the question a little bit because we got your review. We got your review at the top. So basically just the subject of this being expanded. Did you like the expansion of Mythril Mines?
Yeah, I mean, I think Rob made a great point of like, the rise and fall. That being said, the expansion's cool. I like what we did get out of here. I do think that there was room to really expand more. I feel like we walked into this big ass cave and we didn't fill it out as much as we could have, so to speak. But I don't look at it negatively.
Yeah.
I pointed out that this is probably my least replayed chapter.
Yeah.
And I think that's honestly to be said for most people, but maybe because of the fact that it's so short on replay, I honestly didn't mind it. I kind of played it twice. I did
too. I did too.
It was just so fast. I could just jump through it. And, I think ultimately I brought up earlier, its pacing is weird. I mean, we're already coming off of a weird pacing, and it kind of has to, because narratively we need to get to where we're going with Junon. But it is kind of a weird pacing choice to go linear. Here's the open world. Okay, now you're stuck back in the linear section again. I get why we did it. It's just, to me, between the pacing of that and then the chapter itself starting off pretty high and then kind of taking a weird dip.
Yeah.
And then the golem fight's a really fun high point at the end. I mentioned earlier the hypothetical of perhaps, a good way to expand it would have honestly have been just switch around the act with Barrett and Red, put that towards the front where they branch off the first time, let them have their branch, character moment, and then end the chapter with Root and Elena fight. I think that the chapter itself was fun. It was okay. I'm not in love with it like I am some of the other chapters, but overall, I'm not gonna sit here and hate on it either. I don't think it really deserves to be punched down on.
No.
It's just,
well, I like how East Blue Drew and Toolman. East Blue Drew saying, I love it, honestly, for character building. Toolman saying it's fun and it's necessary as its own chapter. So, very awesome that there are people that really actually enjoyed this chapter. So that's cool too. Josh Z wrote in to the survey and said, did you like this occasional linear chapters? And Excalibur, I'm going to pitch this one over to you. Did you like the occasional linear chapters that started here with Temporary Party and Fast Travel Lock? I thought it was a brilliant game design choice that structured the chapters well and preserved the strength of the first part of the trilogy. So basically, did you like this idea of almost gated open world, which is very familiar for Final Fantasy fans, I would say. What did you think of that? Like to go from open world grasslands to linear Mythril Mines dungeon.
I'm glad that you threw this question at me because this is something that I wanted to say anyway.
Awesome.
I really like it. So I feel like it's a great chance to breathe between these big open segments where you can play to your heart's content. I mean, in the grasslands, I probably put in 10 hours, And so then you get to the Mythril Mine and you have a concrete objective. You're just moving straight through to the next piece. You can smell the roses a little bit, but it's sort of like pushing you forward. And so it was sort of a mental break from having to compartmentalize all these different sort of, I don't want to call it fetch, but items,
Sure, right.
checklists,
Yeah,
right?
checklist. Yeah,
Sure.
So for me, it really felt like, to go back to something that Rob said earlier, I feel like it helps the pacing when you do that because you have the opportunity to breathe a little bit. In the opposite sort of way that you have to breathe in the open sections.
Dude, I agree. And even Mr. Bigglesworth says, do you think Chapter 3 hits different if you're just doing main quests in Chapter 2, ignoring the open world? And that's actually interesting because you can get to this chapter pretty quickly. Like we talked about this last week, where if you don't do any of the side quests, and Chapter 2 is pretty quick. Like, yeah, like I don't know what the runtime of that would be, but I imagine you could get through Chapter 2 in about an hour.
Probably.
Yeah.
I was just thinking to myself, because I kind of spoke about it negatively before. The exact thing that you were talking about, Wiley, just reversed it. How it felt weird that this game starts linear, you get a great open world in the second chapter, and then it just drags you right back into a linear section. I still feel like it was a little, maybe this is just a personal thing, I felt like it was a little too early to sort of rob me of the open world aspect so soon. Now we're saying so soon, but you just said you got 10 hours out of the grassland.
Exactly, right.
So I could see both sides to this discussion. I just think that for me at least, it was a very, and again, I understand the narrative aspect. That's not where I'm coming from. Like narratively, this had to happen. It's just, to me, it was a very strange thing because it's like, hey, here's a playground, go play in it. And then since like somebody kicked me into the little like tunnel or a slide, and it's like, all right, you got to go do that. It's like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go on the monkey bars. I wanted to go on this part. I wanted to go on that part. It felt like it was just weird for that. But in the way that you described it, of like having to come down and looking at Mr. Bigglesworth's comment, maybe on the replay I was more focused on the objective and was just kind of blinded by that because maybe trying to contextualize this back to my first playthrough where I was doing all the open world stuff, this might have been a very needed break from the open world fatigue.
I have to agree with Excalibro, you guys basically, where I actually enjoyed this game design. I enjoy the game design of funneling. So you give me a big open world like Final Fantasy 15 style, but that's like the entire game. You get the funnel and then you go into the freaking funnel. Like you're linear from the rest. But for this, Rebirth does a great job, in my opinion, with that roller coaster of like, this is East Blue Drew saying you need to have small moments like this in a big game. Where you have the open world, which is like open freedom, and then like let's go into that whatever. Like it's kind of like this, I guess, rather than a roller coaster. You go in, out, in, out. I like it. I think they could have stepped up the dungeon design a little bit, in my opinion. Like if we're going with like part 3, if we're thinking ahead, if I can be a little critical about that and maybe feedback and build on it. That's always what I want to do if I'm being critical. It's where it's like, hey, think of us as a little bit smarter, right? Like, so where you don't have to give us these really, really easy puzzles. Like, so I get it for the idea of like, maybe this
we need more vacuum cleaning.
No,
That sucks.
but like, if the vacuum cleaning was faster, it could be a fun puzzle. I don't know, but like, I would like to have a little bit of puzzle elements. Barrett had a gun that could shoot rocks. Give me something that is a puzzle mechanic that utilizes this. That would be cool. So I think that would have been a great opportunity to have Barrett shooting some rocks that freaking, I don't know, lets down a rope. I don't, whatever.
You're shooting like levers.
You shoot the ladders, but it's so guided. It's super, super guided, and like the freaking mine carts pushing them. Oh, let me switch, boom. Or if I want to get this treasure chest, boom, back it up, switch, go this way. It was it was mundane in a way where it wasn't like bad. I just want more challenging dungeons or more challenging puzzles to make me feel a little more engaged with it. I think the dungeon design could step up a little bit. The actual paths of this dungeon were awesome, in my opinion. Like, I love that there were ups and downs, ladders that go down, grab some treasure chests down there, come back up. Everything was kind of like weaving in and out of each other. I thought that was really cool, made me feel like I was in a mine. But I just wanted, if you're going to give me a gimmick mechanic, I don't know, make that like a puzzle. Like, do something.
Flesh it out a little more.
Yeah, do something with it would be cool.
Again,
so I wouldn't have.
I
just wanted to just kind of come back to it where I'm like, yeah, it gave me the big open world of the grasslands, which I really loved. And yeah, spent 10 hours, probably more, doing the grasslands. You know, so like I was ready to be funneled in and give me a linear dungeon, and that's awesome. It does throw back to that remake style, like linear dungeons and stuff like that. And then we're about to open back up. We're about to go right back open up to chapter 4. And then we'll come back in. You know what I mean? I think that's great game design. It keeps the pacing fun. I just want the linear parts to be freaking on the game, like on their game. I want that linear part to either be in an amazing dungeon that leads to an amazing battle that leads to, or like that has a lot of depth to the story.
There's more pressure for the linear parts to deliver than there are for the open, you know.
Yes. And I don't know necessarily if the Mythril Mines really did it. If they would have ended it with the Turks battle, I would have said this might have even ranked higher. Like, it could have ranked higher.
Now I have a little statement to make. This is moving into the future memories territory. But so this is the thought I had when I was playing this. The beginning of chapter 4, which happened seamlessly from the end of chapter 3, is such a great beginning that it elevates the mind for me, because you come straight out of it and there's 7 robed figures. And immediately, I don't want to talk about the chapter too much, but I feel like almost that should have been like the climax of chapter 3 instead of the beginning of chapter 4. But I realized why it was done the other way.
Dude, that
like
is
it's a great setup, but it's a great climax, but it's also a great setup.
I like that a lot. I know that's weird. Like I do really love that because it is technically chapter 4. But that you're so right. Like, that would have been a good end to that. But yeah, I did like coming out of the mines and you have that big, like, glaring sun, the light at the end of the tunnel type thing. That was such a cool, emerging from the Mythril mines. I like that. If you break the camera, pretty cool. Just saying. Maybe we should do that. When you're in the mines, you break the camera and you come out. Mythril mines is like not even rendered all the way in, but the rails are still there. It's pretty cool.
What direction is the sun in, Dan?
When you're in the mines, it's rising in the east. No, I'm just kidding. No, y'all.
Right,
this
so
is... go ahead.
I got one for you, Dan. Before we conclude here.
Question for me?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What did President Shinra say when he learned that these caves were packed with Mythril?
Oh, man. What did he say?
Mine.
Oh,
that's a triple entendre. That's a noun, a pronoun, and a verb. That was a good joke.
That's a triple entendre.
I'm not going to cave on this one, Dan.
Bro,
that was fine.
Bro. All right, so the joke was good, but I gotta say, I love that you folded after about 1.5 seconds and immediately went, that's a good joke, as if everybody was with a dog on you for nothing.
It's a noun, a verb.
Holy crap, dude! Dude, I didn't even have a chance to process whether I liked it or not. And then you're like, "It was a good joke." You told me what to think. It's great. Thanks.
I was just shaking my head. I was shaking my head until he had to do the explanation, and that sold it for me.
Good joke.
It's a good joke. I'm not folding.
No, cave it.
I'm not gonna. Oh, he said he did the cave. I didn't even catch it.
Cave.
This joke has layers.
That joke was rock solid.
This joke has. Oh man.
I'm just glad I didn't hit rock bottom on that.
I just wish it was mine.
Yeah. Listen,
Wonderful.
what do you call children you sent to dig for Mythril? Minor.
Oh no! A minor.
I know, it's awful. It's awful.
Oh god, I love it. The satire weapon, Excalibur, strikes again. I love it. Alright, y'all, this has been good stuff. This has been great. Chat, thank you so much for tuning in. Everybody watching and everybody chiming in the chats. East Blue Drew, don't you worry. We're gonna do a dad joke special. It's gonna be great. The try not to laugh thing. We're gonna do another one. This time, all four of us.
Oh my.
Except for Dragoon King won't be able to be a dad joke. He'll just be the kid that we tell him our jokes. And then, that's it. Like we just have to tell him.
Come on, guys! I promise I can. Wait, if I just like go out and adopt a kid or something, can I qualify?
I did it for Final Fan TV, man. I want to be part of it.
These are you're not my dad jokes.
I might have to have a discussion with my girlfriend later. We'll round out to that idea 9 months from now. But anyway, it was a great stream, guys.
Yeah, that's it. It's all for Final Fan TV. I pitched to the boys. I was like, hey, listen, it's Valentine's Day. Do you think the ladies would mind if we did a 5-hour stream? 5-hour max. Anyways, we're not going to
say we did not do that.
So no. And we're not going to let this one go past 3 hours. We're not going to do it. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an absolute blast. Don't forget, next week, it's going to be a different day because Tuesday's not going to work for all of our panelists, from what I understand, unless if I'm thinking of that incorrectly.
This is news to me. But all right, cool.
All right, cool. So it's probably going to be Wednesday. So Wednesday night, I assume. But we're going to talk about it, and we'll let you know. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned to the posts on YouTube. Follow over on x.com/FinalFanTV to keep up with all of that. Be sure to fill out the survey for Chapter 4. I try my best to bring in all of your questions. Also, something that I really look forward to would be your feedback on these episodes. Hopefully, we did a pretty decent job this time around. I think we had some fun. And yeah, I look forward to hearing your feedback and your responses for Chapter 4. Where does it rank among the first 4 chapters? Catherine, thank you. You have a good one. Erica, good night to you as well. East Blue Drew, thank you for saying it was a great stream. This is the Warrior of Hype with Final Fan TV panelists, Dragoon King. I told you I'd announce you first.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
The Excalibur.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Dr. Lockhart.
Fools.
You
face the mightiest swordsman in all Iblis. You face me, Gilgamesh.
Dude, what's up with all the delays?
Legend. Scoured have I the furthest marches east and west. Now my search brings me here. To you.
Oh my God. All right, y'all.
I don't know why.
Take care now.
Necessary, but...
Bye then.